Chapter 1699. Junior brother, well done. Hui Haifeng jumped up in excitement. The effects were much better than he had expected. It couldn't be any more perfect. In the eyes of ordinary people, human sovereign was already an existence akin to a god. Truth Listener, who had blasted the 12-star palaces, made people love, fear, and envy him. Your dad is still your dad. No matter how the times change, human sovereign is still the strongest human. There's no one else like him. I'm dying of laughter. There's actually someone comparing Kalaman to human sovereign. Is there a need to compare? Human sovereign is mighty. He's the true number one expert of humanity. A spokesperson is nothing compared to him. Can you stop bragging? How do you know that human sovereign isn't a spokesperson? I think he's a spokesperson. Otherwise, how could he have become so strong in such a short period of time? Shut up. I, human sovereign, am definitely not a spokesperson. When ordinary people bickered online, spokespeople, including Kalaman, wouldn't be able to say a word. Or it could be said that they didn't have the mood to speak at all. Most of them had signed a contract with an alien race in order to increase their strength. They originally imagined that they could become the top existences among humans, but human sovereign's unparalleled strength made them feel like they had suddenly fallen from heaven to the mortal world. After a long silence, Kalaman finally asked, "Which race is he the spokesperson of?" It wasn't just Kalaman who thought so. All the spokespeople and experts from the various factions believed that human sovereign was definitely a spokesperson. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to reach such a level in such a short period of time. It had nothing to do with talent but the lack of resources. Without the resources provided by the dimension, it was impossible for humans to obtain them in dimensional zones without 8 to 9 years, much less someone at the level of human sovereign. Everyone stared at the magic cube screen, waiting for the moment the rankings appeared. They wanted to know which race's spokesperson human sovereign was. It wasn't just the various factions on Earth. Even many terrifying existences in the dimension were looking at the magic cube screen. They also wanted to know which race had nurtured such a human. From their point of view, nurturing a human like this was a huge investment. Zhouwen wasn't in the mood to care about what others thought. His mind was filled with joy. Emperor's Star. Indeed, there were Emperor's Stars in reality. The Polestar Starlord in reality had dropped another Emperor's Star. Without any thought, Zhouwen put away the Emperor's Star and teleported out of the Star Palace. With Zhouwen's departure, the Rubik's Cube returned to the rankings. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the first place on the leaderboard changed hands. As expected, Kalaman was kicked to second place. However, when everyone saw the name in first place, they had the same reaction almost at the same time. Unbelievable! The first name on the list was very simple. There were only 2 words, Human Emperor, without any extra prefix or suffix. It was such a simple name, but it surprised many people. On the other hand, the representatives and powerhouses of the major forces only felt a sense of despair spreading in their hearts. How is this possible? The human sovereign isn't the representative. They couldn't believe that a human could reach this level without relying on the resources of the alien races. However, they had no choice but to believe it. If the human sovereign was really the representative of a dimensional race in the human world, then according to the contract, they had to add the dimensional race's name to the ranking unless the contract signed by the human sovereign was different from theirs. However, up to now they had never heard of a different contract. All the human representatives on the leaderboard had done the same without exception. It was obvious that the contents of the contracts between the various races were about the same. Instantly, the expressions of many representatives turned odd. In order to increase their strength, they had signed a contract with the dimensional races and become their representative. However, they suddenly realized that a person who didn't rely on the resources provided by the dimension was already far ahead of them. This was a blow they couldn't accept. Haha, I knew it. The human sovereign can't be the representative of the dimension. As expected of the human sovereign. Long live the sovereign. There's really no one else. The human sovereign should be able to beat up those representatives. He's a pure human. I really wonder what it feels like for those representatives to be trampled by the human sovereign after receiving so many resources. I want to say something, but I'm uncultured. There's only one word in my mind. Human sovereign. Not only are you uncultured, but you also don't know how to count. It's clearly 4 words, all right? The entire Federation was in an uproar. A human who wasn't a representative had actually reached such a level. Furthermore, he might be a pure human. He hadn't become a representative or contracted a guardian. It was even possible that he hadn't used the mythical fluid. This was as perfect as a dream. Of course, more people didn't believe that the human sovereign was still a pure human. They were more willing to believe that the human sovereign had made some sacrifices to reach this stage. The various platforms that were originally discussing the representatives were now replaced by the name of the human sovereign. As for companion beasts, the already popular term, it once again exceeded the search volume for the representatives and became the most popular search. As they didn't know Truth Listener's name, it was unknown who had given Truth Listener the nickname Crown Prince. Now it was called that on the internet. There were countless discussions about Truth Listener. Not every human could be a representative, but everyone had a chance of obtaining a companion beast. They wanted to know how to obtain such a powerful companion beast. The existence of evolved companion beasts was now common knowledge. However, it was difficult for the average person to obtain one. However, no matter how difficult it was, there was still a chance of obtaining one. If they could nurture it to the level of the human sovereign's companion beast, wouldn't they also become top human experts? So what if I'm weak? It's fine as long as my companion beast is strong enough. If you're indignant, come F***ck my companion beast. If you're indignant, go F***ck human sovereign's companion beast. Many people began to change their mindset. They no longer envied the experts who had become representative. Although this mindset couldn't be completely changed in an instant, it was a good beginning. Young Master One is really too powerful. It's hard to imagine how he reached this stage. He suffered so much in secret, but he never complained. It's just too difficult for young Master One, Anxing said with a sigh. And Tianzhua fell silent. Zhou growth speed was faster than he had imagined. He had truly become a pillar of support for the human race. He felt gratified, and at the same time, a certain power was growing in his body, making his blood boil. It's time to go there. How can I fall behind him? Chapter 1700. Zhou held the freshly forged Emperor's Star and hesitated over who to give it to. This thing was a form of improvement for anyone who used it. There were almost no negative effect. With an additional Dharch life providence, there would be a certain enhancement in other aspects. The best choice was naturally Truth Listener and Demonic Neonate. After some consideration, Zhou decided to keep it for Demonic Neonate. After she completed her evolution, he would let her use the Emperor's Star. It wasn't that Zhou preferred Demonic Neonate, but because Dharch fate seemed to have the effect of subduing dimensional creatures. Truth Listener was a violent person. It would be a little difficult for him to rule a group of dimensional creatures. Demonic Neonate's sinister personality was rather suitable. Unfortunately, there was only one Emperor's Star. If there were a few more, such as Shurlong, Banana Fairy, and the like, it would be perfect. Of course, this was only a thought. The treasures in hidden dungeons wouldn't even respawn in-game, much less be mass-produced. Zhou put away the Emperor's Star and summarized his various essence energy arts. He planned on advancing all his essence energy arts to the Calamity grade as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would always be a latent danger if he didn't reach the Calamity grade. Currently, the essence energy arts that had condensed a calamity domain were the First Order of Chaos, Hell rank, Chi Refinement Art, Hell rank, Tao Sutra, Hell rank, Small Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, Heavenly Realm, and Ancient Sovereign Sutra, Human Realm. The only ones that hadn't condensed a calamity domain were the Sky-Stealing Sun-Shifting Art, the God-Fiend Era, and the Demon God Catalog. Zhouwen had no idea where the God-Fiend Era was going to condense a calamity domain. It was very difficult to find the corresponding dimensional zone for such an essence energy art of unknown origins. All he could do was slowly try. The Demon God Catalog had a clear dimensional zone that matched it, but when he thought of the Dharch in Chess Mountain, Zhouwen felt that it was a little difficult. Even without the Dharch, the 4 generals of the Mo family that Zhouwen had met in Chess Mountain weren't to be trifled with. There was a high chance that they were existences at the Heaven Realm. With the principle of doing the easy things first, Zhouwen planned on putting some effort into the Sky-Stealing Sun-Shifting Art. The Endless Sea of Stars and the Sky-Stealing Sun-Shifting Art should be rather compatible, so it shouldn't be difficult for him to find an opportunity to advance to the Calamity grade. He opened the Endless Sea of Stars dungeon on his phone and indeed, the option to choose a mode appeared. Zhouwen didn't hesitate to choose Hidden Mode. The Endless Sea of Stars looked like it corresponded to the cosmos. Every small planet corresponded to a star in the universe. As there were too many stars, Zhouwen could only slowly wander the Endless Sea of Stars. As he hunted dimensional creatures in the Endless Sea of Stars, he searched for the location of the hidden dungeon. This time, Zhouwen's luck wasn't bad. After searching for a few days, he found the suspected location of the hidden dungeon. It was an inconspicuous planet. Apart from rocks, there was nothing else. Even dimensional creatures didn't stay on it. If it were any other time, Zhouwen wouldn't have paid much attention to this place, but in hidden mode, the tiny planet emitted a black glow. Looks like this is the place. Zhouwen didn't discover anything special about the tiny planet and planned on landing on it to search carefully. It looked very ordinary on the surface, but when the blood-colored avatar landed on it, it suddenly felt an unparalleled suction force pull at its body, causing it to sprawl to the ground. Although Zhouwen hadn't advanced to the Calamity stage, he had several Calamity-grade essence energy arts. His physique was not something an ordinary Terra-grade creature could compare with. The suction force of the tiny planet was something Zhouwen couldn't escape. He was sucked to the ground, and the strength was unimaginable. Zhouwen first used the power of the Calamity-grade Ancient Sovereign Sutra to try standing up, but he realized that he still couldn't escape. Then, he changed to the Chi Refinement Art, but it still didn't work. In the end, he even used the Heaven-grade Small Perfection of Wisdom, but he still couldn't stand up. The suction force on the tiny planet seemed endless. No matter how powerful his strength was, he couldn't escape it. After Zhouwen used the Master Domain, he finally escaped the suction force, allowing him to stand, walk, and fly freely on the tiny planet. At critical moments, the Tao Sutra is still reliable. Zhouwen sighed as he slowly searched for the entrance to the hidden dungeon on the tiny planet. To his surprise, he didn't find anything amiss after searching the entire planet. Naturally, he didn't find the entrance to the hidden dungeon. That's strange. This should be the entrance to the hidden dungeon. Why can't I find the entrance to it? Zhouwen tried to push the tiny planet to see if it was like the Providence Star Palace. He needed to push the planet to trigger the entrance to the hidden dungeon. However, the planet didn't move at all. Even the power of Brahma couldn't move it at all. From the looks of it, the way to enter isn't to push this tiny planet. Zhouwen pondered for a moment before switching his essence energy art to the Sky-Stealing Sun-Shifting Art. He deactivated all the other essence energy arts. Once the Master Domain was retracted, even with the Sky-Stealing Sun-Shifting Art activated, Zhouwen's body was still slumped to the ground. However, this time it was different. His body lay on the hard rock, but he felt that the rock wasn't like a rock. It was as though it had turned into some liquid or foam. His body gradually sank into the tiny planet. Li Xian had been very busy recently and had the desire to learn the avatar technique. Zhouwen was a hands-off boss. He had to worry about the matters of hundreds of thousands of people in Guide Ancient City. Although the Zhang family and the Xia family shared the burden, they weren't his family after all. It wasn't convenient to leave some matters to them. When Will Mingxiu and Little Yanyan return, the other spokespeople have already returned. Why are they so slow? Li Xian began to miss the two oddities. When the two of them were around, Li Xian would sometimes have a headache because of them, but now that they were really gone, he felt that something was missing. At the very least, there was no one to help him with his work. Brother Xian, bad news. Something bad has happened. A fashionably dressed young man ran over in a hurry, shouting as he ran. Li Xian looked at the young man's clothes and found them unpleasing to the eye. He thought to himself, I have to think of a way to design a uniform later. Otherwise, this civil servant will look like a hooligan. It'll really affect my image. I'll discuss it with old Zhou when I'm free. However, with that fellow's weird aesthetics, it's probably useless to discuss it with him. What's the fuss? Don't you know how to be composed? You are the captain of our Guide Ancient City's city guards after all. What do you think you're doing? Li Xian first reprimanded the youth before asking, What happened? Kalaman is now at the city entrance. He said he wants to meet our city lord Zhouwen. The youth tried to remain calm, but his tone was still flustered. Although the entire world acknowledged that Kalaman was inferior to human emperor, most people didn't treat human emperor as a human. In the hearts of ordinary people, Kalaman was still a powerful existence that no one could match. What's he doing here? Li Xian frowned slightly, unable to figure out Kalaman's goal. All he could do was meet Kalaman and figure out his goal. Chapter 1701. Kalaman, why aren't you enjoying yourself at the Cape residence? Why are you here? Li Xian stood in front of the city gate with a frivolous look. I want someone. Kalaman stood there casually, giving off the feeling of being high and mighty, as though he was a proud son of heaven. If you want someone, find a human trafficker. This is a proper place. We don't sell people, Li Xian said with a twitch of his lips. Kalaman frowned slightly, but he didn't flare up. It wasn't that he was afraid of Li Xian and Zhouwen. After all, this was the An family's territory in name. Even the Cape family was somewhat afraid of Luoyang's An family. I'll borrow Guide Ancient City's Shiraishi Satomi for a month. Tell me how much you need, Kalaman said. How pitiful. You age prematurely. You have such good ears at such a young age. Then let me tell you again. If you want to buy someone, find a human trafficker. We don't sell people here, Li Xian said with a sneer. Li Xian also knew about Shiraishi Satomi and Ise Island. The moment he heard Kalaman mention Shiraishi Satomi, he guessed what Kalaman was up to. It was naturally impossible for him to hand Shiraishi Satomi to him. If it wasn't for Ntianzua, you wouldn't have the right to negotiate with me. I hope you won't make a mistake. Kalaman frowned. If he really couldn't reach a deal, he had to take Shiraishi Satomi away even if he had to fall out with Ntianzua. To others, Amaterasu was only a powerful companion beast, but to Kalaman it wasn't that simple. His life providence, life soul, wheel of destiny, terror transformation, and calamity domain perfectly matched the powers of the Sun Holy Temple. Otherwise, the Sun Holy Temple wouldn't have chosen someone from the Cape family as a spokesperson. After all, the Cape family was a faction of the sacred Emperor Temple in the human world. As for Amaterasu, he was the sun god of the pantheon. He was extremely compatible with Kalaman and was one of the companion beasts he had to fight for. Upon hearing Kalaman's words, Li Xian smiled. You really don't need to care about anyone. Our Guide Ancient City doesn't need to rely on anyone either. In that case, get Zhouwen out. I really want to experience the legendary King of Thieves' demeanor. A cold glint flashed in Kalaman's eyes. He planned to end the battle quickly and take Shiraishi Satomi away before Entienzwa received the news and rushed over. "All right, wait for me." Li Xian knew how powerful Kalaman was. Now that his level was inferior to Kalaman's, he didn't plan on fighting him head-on. He returned to the city to find Zhou. "I'll only wait 3 minutes," Kalaman said coldly. Li Xian couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on him. After entering the city, he went straight to Zhou courtyard and told him what had happened. Kalaman is the spokesperson of the sun rays. His powers are also of the sun lineage. Amaterasu is the sun god, so it's not difficult to understand why he's in such a hurry. From the looks of it, the matter between Shiraishi Satomi and the Ise Grand Shrine might really be true. Zhou thought for a moment and followed Li Xian out the city. "Zhou, do you dare make a bet with me? Let's fight. If I lose, this calamity-grade companion beast will belong to you. If you lose, lend Shiraishi Satomi to me for a month," Kalaman said when he saw Zhou come out. No, Zhou rejected without hesitation. He would definitely win if he won, but he could not use his own people as a wager. This was his bottom line. "Don't force me to do something I don't want to do." Kalaman's expression turned cold as he stared at Zhou and enunciated each word. At the same time, the golden divine light on his body rose, making him as sacred and dazzling as the sun. Just as Zhou was about to say something, he suddenly heard someone say lazily from afar, "Coach, is this person here to cause trouble? Little Su, you're back?" When Li Xian saw the young man walking over from the main road, he was immediately overjoyed. Finally, someone could share his workload. "Brother Xian, what's going on?" Ming Xiu sized up Kalaman and asked. "This fellow is the Cape family's Kalaman, second on the Rubik's Cube rankings. He's here to cause trouble," Li Xian said casually. Kalaman wasn't in the mood to listen to their nonsense. He directly said to Zhou, "Zhou, do you want to fight me, or do you want me to rush into Guide Ancient City and take her away? Choose between the two. I'll give you 1 last minute to consider." "Coach, take a rest first. If there's anything, I'll do it for you. Leave such a minor character to me." Ming Xiu's expression made it seem like he was dealing with a hooligan on the streets, not a world-famous super expert. "All right." Zhou nodded. He also wanted to see how strong Ming Xiu was after returning from the dimension. With him watching from the side, even if Ming Xiu wasn't Kalaman's match, nothing major would happen. "Little Su, can you do it? Although this fellow isn't much of a person, he still has some strength," Li Xian whispered to Ming Xiu. "Don't worry." Ming Xiu gave Li Xian a reassuring look before walking in front of Kalaman and saying, "Are you leaving by yourself, or do you want me to send you away?" Courting death. Kalaman was slightly infuriated. Ignoring the fact that Ming Xiu was clearly Zhou disciple, he didn't even take Zhou seriously, much less Ming Xiu. He was already filled with killing intent. It was impossible for him to take Shiraishi Satomi away peacefully today. Kalaman had already decided to make an example out of him. Even if he didn't kill Ming Xiu, he had to cripple him. Without another word, Kalaman's mind stirred as the sun god's light on his body shot out in all directions like thousands of beams of light. It was as though he was the wrath of the sun god. Ming Xiu didn't panic at all. He clenched his right hand and a sword appeared in his hand before slowly stabbing out. When Li Xian and the guards standing on the city wall saw this scene, they couldn't help but feel their hearts in their mouth. Ming Xiu's strike looked slow and weak. It wasn't fast, ruthless, and accurate at all. It didn't have any astonishing aura, and it was soft as though it didn't have any strength. Compared to Kalaman's radiant image, it made people wonder if Ming Xiu would be instantly reduced to dust. However, Zhou was slightly surprised when he saw Ming Xiu's strike. He knew Ming Xiu's bright sun sword art very well. Now that he had activated the teacher domain, he could immediately tell that the bright sun sword art was indeed much stronger than before. In terms of realm, it wasn't much inferior to the current Han Shinsakura. Even Zhou Wen couldn't fully understand its profundities immediately. It was only with the help of the teacher domain that he could see the true profundities within. Of course, the sword Dao of the two were different, so there wasn't much comparison. When the radiant Kalaman saw the strike, his expression changed slightly. He couldn't tell where the strike was coming from. It was as though the strike had nowhere to go, as though it had appeared out of thin air. At his realm, he could almost predict the trajectory of all sword technique. This situation left him somewhat surprised. His contempt was immediately swept away as he knew that he had encountered a terrifying opponent. End of this chapter. Chapter 1702. Many core members of Guide Ancient City stood on the city walls to watch the battle. The Zhang family, the Xia family, and the newcomers from the Nitin Flying Immortal Palace, Sei Gasakai, Han Shinsakura, Shiraishi Satomi, and company. Naturally, there were many original members of Guide Ancient City. When they saw Ming Xiu fight Kalaman, they felt somewhat uneasy. Tomorrow's swordsman was quite famous, but compared to a figure like Kalaman, who was like the sun in the sky, he was far inferior. Especially Sei Gasakai and the other members of the Nitin Flying Immortal Palace. They believed that Zhou Wen was very strong and could fight Kalaman, but who was Ming Xiu? They really didn't know and had some doubts. However, when Ming Xiu really began fighting Kalaman, it left everyone alarmed. The intensity and stalemate of the battle exceeded many people's expectations. Although Kalaman was peerless, he appeared somewhat restrained when facing Ming Xiu's sword technique that didn't seem to have much of an aura. It could even be said that it was slow. It was difficult to determine the victor. Mr. Zhou is truly a godly person. A disciple of his is on par with Kalaman. It's truly amazing, Sei Gasakai said with a sigh. Coming to Guide Ancient City was indeed the right choice. The elders had long forgotten how they had objected to Han Shinsakura coming to Guide Ancient City. All of them were beaming with joy. For an existence like Kalaman to be able to fight a disciple of Zhou Wen to such an extent, the strength of Guide Ancient City far exceeded their imagination. It was as unfathomable as the sea. In fact, they had been rather alarmed during this period of time. The Zhang family and the Xia family actually had a large number of businesses in Guide Ancient City. This was completely different from what they had imagined. Especially the fact that the Zhang family's princess, Zhang Yuji, was in Guide Ancient City gave them a huge shock. In fact, the Zhang and Xia families were also very alarmed. They knew that Ming Xiu was very strong, but they never expected him to be this strong. The ancient city has finally produced a spokesperson, Zhang Yuji said with a sigh. It was unknown what she was thinking. The most alarmed person was Kalaman himself. Ming Xiu's sword technique looked ordinary. Every move looked simple and even a little slow, but it brought him immense trouble. The most troublesome one is the time element. Kalaman had already seen through Ming Xiu's element, but he still found it difficult to fight. Due to the difference in time, the sword that Kalaman saw might not be a real sword. Perhaps it was a sword from a second ago, or it might be a sword from a second later, making it difficult to deal with. Originally, Kalaman wanted to defeat Ming Xiu in terms of technique, but now, he was rather depressed and couldn't see any possibility of winning. Since that's the case, I can only crush everything with absolute power. Kalaman decided to unleash all of his power and launch a large-scale destructive attack so that Ming Xiu wouldn't have the chance to use those troublesome techniques. I don't care if it's a second ago or a second later. The power that burns eternally like the sun can continuously destroy everything. As the representative of the sun race, this is the power that Kalaman is most proficient in. Just as Kalaman was about to release his powers without a care, he suddenly heard Zhou Wen, who was watching from afar, say, "Guide City has thousands of years of history. It's not easy for many things to be preserved to this day. It's best you restrain yourself. Don't destroy the precious treasures that bear witness to history. Guide Ancient City was a dimensional zone. No matter how intense the battle outside was, it was difficult for it to affect the ancient city. However, the guide city outside didn't have the ability to protect itself. Once an existence at Kalaman's level released his strength to launch a large-scale attack, the entire city would probably be destroyed. Although there were no humans left in the city, Zhou didn't wish to see the area outside the ancient city turn into a charred ruin. Kalaman sneered inwardly. "Are you my dad? What do you want me to do? You obviously don't wish for me to use my strength to defeat this fellow. As for whether that crappy city will be destroyed, what has that got to do with me? I'm definitely taking Shiraishi Satomi away today. No one can stop me." With this in mind, the golden divine light on Kalaman's body surged as it devoured everything nearby. Just as the golden divine light surged, Kalaman heard Zhou say something along the lines of "really naughty." He didn't hear what he said because he wasn't in the mood to listen. His heart was already filled with horror. At that instant, the sun god power on Kalaman's body vanished without a trace. It was as though an omnipotent god had been struck down to the mortal world and had his godhood removed, reducing him to an ordinary person. The sun god power naturally didn't vanish. However, the circulation of the sun god power was restricted in Zhou Wen's sure domain. Kalaman couldn't release the sun god power outside his body. Without the sun god power, even though Kalaman's physique was still there, it was difficult for him to compete with Ming Xiu. Ming Xiu didn't take the opportunity to defeat Kalaman. He sheathed his sword and stood there without continuing the battle. Kalaman looked at Zhou in horror. He didn't know how Zhou had done it, but it was clearly Zhou doing. "I've said it before. If you want to fight, fight, but don't destroy anything here." As Zhou spoke, he removed the restriction on the sun god power in sure domain, allowing Kalaman to regain the right to use it. "Continue," Zhou said. "Continue? I'll continue, your sister." Kalaman stood there with a rather odd expression. He didn't move for a long time as 10,000 alpacas galloped through his heart. Originally, Guide Ancient City was like an empty city in Kalaman's eyes. He could come and go freely at any time as though there was no one around. But now, Guide Ancient City had become as dangerous as a dragon's lair and a tiger's den. It was also like an evil nest enveloped in a mysterious demonic fog. It made Kalaman feel a sense of awe. Guide Ancient City naturally didn't change. However, the pressure Ming Xiu gave Kalaman, as well as the fear of Zhou when suddenly making it difficult for him to release the sun god power, changed Kalaman's state of mind. Kalaman found it hard to imagine that such a tiny city would have two such terrifying existences. Especially Zhou, who made it difficult for him to release the sun god power. It made him feel fear from the depths of his heart. Without the sun god power, Kalaman was like a bird that had lost its wings, a horse without legs. The fear he felt was unimaginable. Kalaman didn't know if there were any more terrifying existences in this tiny city, but he had already lost all his fighting spirit. His lofty aura had long vanished. Kalaman didn't move as though an awkward atmosphere was spreading in the air. "Why don't we go somewhere else?" Ming Xiu spoke, finally breaking the darn silence. "I've been sleeping like a log recently. I'm really sorry for writing in the middle of the night." End of this chapter. Chapter 1703. Kalaman turned around and left without saying a word. Why did he leave just like that? Many of the people watching from the wall were confused. They only saw that Kalaman and Ming Xiu were evenly matched. Then, Zhou said a few words and Kalaman left. It was baffling. He left just like that. How boring. Zhou felt somewhat depressed. He was using the master domain to analyze Ming Xiu's bright sun sword art. Once Kalaman left, there was no one to fight Ming Xiu, so what was the point of analyzing? Coach, don't come out next time. Otherwise, it'll be too boring, Ming Xiu said with a smile. If you find it boring, why don't you fight me? Zhou Wen's eyes lit up when he heard Ming Xiu say that. Ming Xiu's situation was somewhat similar to Han Shinsakura's. If he could use the master domain to help Ming Xiu grow, it might be able to advance again and reach the highest heaven realm. It's naturally great that Coach is willing to give me pointers. Ming Xiu's eyes lit up when he heard Zhou Wen say that. He had been in the dimension for so long, so he wanted to know how much he had improved. We'll talk when we get back, Zhou Wen said as he walked into the city. It wasn't like he was fighting outsiders, so there was no need for Ming Xiu to expose all his abilities. It was better to find a hidden place to fight Ming Xiu. After Calomon left, the more he thought about it, the more upset he felt. He guessed that Zhou Wen had a power that could restrain his sun god power, just like how the advanced powers in front of the Alcade Star Palace could eliminate essence energy. If I had known, I wouldn't have returned the leakless golden turtle so early. Calomon didn't believe that he was weaker than Zhou Wen. It was only because Zhou Wen had a special ability that could restrain the sun god power. As long as he could crack that special ability, it wouldn't be difficult to defeat Zhou Wen. The leakless golden turtle was the companion beast he had used to challenge the Alcade Star Palace. It had transformed into golden armor to protect his body, allowing him to withstand the taboo powers of the advanced. Calomon felt that Zhou Wen's strength was similar to that of the advanced. The leakless golden turtle should be able to restrain it. As long as he wore the leakless golden turtle armor and went to Guide City, he wouldn't have to be afraid anymore. He would definitely be able to defeat Zhou Wen and Ming Xiu. However, the leakless golden turtle wasn't his own companion beast. He had only borrowed it back then. If he wanted to borrow it again now, the round trip would take at least half a month. Furthermore, he would have to pay a price. Calomon didn't mind paying some price, but he couldn't wait to go back and forth. Ever since he became the spokesperson, he had never suffered such a setback. Calomon couldn't wait to defeat Zhou Wen to restore his pride. After thinking about it, Calomon took out his phone and dialed a number, and it quickly connected. Pata, lend me your leakless golden tortoise again, Calomon stated his intentions. What? You still want to enter the Star Palace? I advise you to give up. According to the information I received, Ziwei Star Lord should be at the Heaven Realm. Among the humans, aside from the human sovereign, I'm afraid no one can match him. You'll just be throwing your life away if you go. It's none of my business if you send yourself to your death, but if I lend you the leakless golden turtle, there's no return. I can't do this deal. Pata's words left Calomon even more depressed. He had been suppressed by human sovereign in the Magic Cube's ranking and had been taught a lesson by Zhou Wen in Guide Ancient City. With Calomon's proud personality, nothing could make him feel worse. I'm not going to the Star Palace, Calomon said. Then what are you going to do? Pata was somewhat surprised. With Calomon's abilities, even without the leakless golden turtle, there weren't many humans on Earth who could match him. To defeat someone, I need to borrow the power of the leakless golden turtle. Who? Don't tell me it's human sovereign? Calomon's words alarmed Pata. Who else on Earth could make Calomon so afraid? He even needed to borrow his leakless golden turtle before he dared to go? Guide Ancient City's Zhou Wen. He has a special power that can eliminate my sun god power. I need the leakless golden turtle to restrain him. Calomon didn't hide anything as he recounted the matter. That's a coincidence. I happen to be heading to Guide Ancient City as well. I'll be there in half a day at most. After a pause, Pata continued, the leakless golden turtle is also the nemesis of those taboo powers. It can definitely help you, but the price… Calomon never expected Pata to be near Guide Ancient City. He was delighted as he said, same old rules. Don't be in a rush. Let me think about it. We'll talk when we meet. After Pata and Carlo agreed on a time, he hung up. However, it was different from what Pata had said. He was almost at Guide Ancient City. He didn't need half a day. After taking a glance at Guide Ancient City, Pata walked straight towards it. Pata came to the city gate and said to the guard with a grin, "Brother, please help me inform him that Pata of the Ultimate Family Clan wishes to meet Castellan Zhouwen." When the guard heard that he was from the Ultimate Family Clan, he didn't dare slight him. He hurriedly got someone to report to Zhouwen. "What have we done recently? Why are there always people coming to us? It was Kalaman from the Cape family just now, and now it's Pata from the Ultimate Family Clan," Li Xian said lazily after hearing that. He wasn't afraid of trouble, but it would be troublesome if there were too many. Take him to the meeting hall. Zhouwen was preparing to fight Ming Xiu, so he could only take a breather. He had a good relationship with the Ultimate Family Clan. Lance and Sadie were his friends, so it wasn't appropriate for him to slight someone from the Ultimate Family Clan. When Zhouwen saw Pata in the meeting hall, he was first taken aback. In Zhouwen's impression, the Ultimate Family Clan was filled with handsome men and beautiful women with long legs. Lance could be considered a handsome man, and Sadie was also a beauty among beauties. Her long, straight, and snow-white legs were dazzling. Pata, on the other hand, was short and rough. He was probably only about 1.6 meters tall. His eyes were small, and his pupils were even smaller. His pupils were the size of mung beans, and they were spinning around in his eye sockets. Coupled with the sparse hair on his head, he looked like a bald mouse that had turned into a demon. This was too different from Zhouwen's impression of the Ultimate Family Clan's handsome men and beautiful women. He couldn't help but take a few more looks. However, Zhouwen wasn't one to judge a book by its cover. He said politely, "Welcome to Guide Ancient City. Lance, Sadie, and I are friends. If you need any hospitality, there's no need to stand on ceremony with me. It'll definitely be of the highest standard." "Thank you very much, but I'm not here to have fun. I want to make a deal with you," Pata said with a smile. "What deal?" Zhouwen was slightly taken aback. "Since you and Lance are friends, I won't beat around the bush. You have a taboo power that restrains the power of the sun, right?" Pata said directly. "Sort of. Is this related to the deal?" Zhouwen asked. "I have a companion beast that can restrain your power. Now, Kalaman wants to borrow my companion beast to deal with you," Pata said with a smile. "I can choose not to lend it to him. The condition is 1/3 of Guide Ancient City's future profits." Chapter 1704. 1/3 of the Ancient City's profits? Li Xian looked at Pata as though he was looking at a lunatic. Pata clearly didn't think of himself as a lunatic. He said confidently, "Don't think that 1/3 of the profits is a lot. If I lend my companion beast to Karaman, with Karaman's personality, he definitely won't let the matter rest after suffering such humiliation. He might even be ruthless. When that happens, he won't even have his life. What's the point of having more money and resources? That's why I want 1/3 of the profits. It's not much at all. It can even be said to be a very kind price. This is also because you have a good relationship with some members of our Ultimate Family Clan. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come here to negotiate with you. If I were to negotiate directly with Karaman, it would definitely be more than this price," Pata said confidently as though everything was under his control. Zhouwen only looked at Pata with interest without saying a word. Li Xian said in exasperation and amusement, "Your analysis is on point, but are you really sure that you can do what you just said with a companion beast? I knew you wouldn't believe me, but it's fine. I can prove to you that my companion beast is worth the price," Pata said as he summoned the leakless golden turtle. It was a huge turtle made of gold. It lay motionless in front of Pata like a golden statue. The leakless golden turtle looked somewhat different from ordinary turtles. Its back was as smooth as a mirror, without any patterns that a turtle shell should have. Its limbs, head, and tail were all made of one piece. Li Xian looked at it for a long time and felt that it didn't look like a turtle, but an old turtle. Before Li Xian could voice his thoughts, Pata transformed the leakless golden turtle into a golden armor and wore it. I'm sure you're all familiar with this armor. The reason why Kalaman was able to successfully pass the advanced test in front of the Alcade Star Palace was because he borrowed my leakless golden turtle. Its abilities are far beyond that. If you don't believe me, you can use that forbidden power that can eliminate the divine power of the sun and see if it's effective against my leakless golden turtle, Pata said confidently. It's just a turtle shell. Do you really think? Li Xian was just about to say something teasing when he was interrupted by Zhou. Your turtle's name is Leakless Golden Turtle? Zhou wasn't angry at all as he sized up the golden turtle with interest. Not bad. It's even stronger than when I lent it to Kalaman. It has already reached hell mode, Pata said, slightly pleased with himself. He did have the right to be smug. In this era, there were only a handful of people with hell-stage companion beasts. Leakless should be a term used in Buddhism. The Buddhists have so-called leakless wisdom, which refers to the wisdom of witnessing the truth and escaping all worries. It's also known as Buddha's wisdom. Such a companion beast shouldn't be from the North District, right? Zhou said as he looked at the leakless golden turtle. In order to cultivate the small perfection of Wisdom Sutra, he had studied Buddhist scriptures for a period of time. Although he wasn't proficient in them, he still knew some things related to Buddhism. The two words leakless represented perfection. In the Buddhist sect, it was the embodiment of great wisdom. To be able to be named leakless, this turtle was probably not ordinary. However, what really interested Zhou wasn't its name, but the aura of the leakless golden turtle was somewhat different from ordinary Buddhist-type companion beasts. This difference was somewhat similar to Zhou truth listener. It made Zhou suspect if this thing came from small Buddha temple. Back when the three-faced Buddha gave him 3 companion eggs, Zhou had chosen truth listener. He wasn't very sure what the remaining 2 companion eggs were. You sure know your stuff. That's right. The leakless golden turtle isn't a companion beast from the North District. However, in this era, companion beasts no longer have any limitations. It doesn't matter where it comes from. What's important is that it's now in my hands, Pata said. Let me guess, where did this leakless golden turtle come from? Zhou said to Pata. What do you mean? Pata frowned. If I'm not wrong, this leakless golden turtle should come from Luoyang. When Zhou mentioned Luoyang, Pata's eyes flickered, confirming his judgment. Where it comes from isn't a problem. What are you? Before Pata could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Zhou. Of course it's a problem. Luoyang belongs to the Yin family. Since your companion beast comes from Luoyang, it should belong to the Yin family. How can you use it to make a deal with me? Zhou said slowly. Zhou, cut that nonsense. Why don't you say that all the companion beasts in the world belong to your family? Do you want to make a deal with me? Don't force me to lend the leakless golden turtle to Kalaman. Pata was somewhat annoyed. Zhou ignored Pata's anger and took out his phone to dial a number. Zhou, why did you suddenly call me? Lance's voice sounded from the phone. Let me ask you something, Zhou said. What is it? Lance found it odd. Zhou and the Yin family were basically active in the East District and rarely went to the North District. He didn't know what Zhou was trying to find out. Pata is a member of your ultimate family clan, right? Zhou asked. Why are you suddenly asking about this? Lance paused and didn't answer directly. Instead, he asked a question. By the side, Pata sneered. Zhou, it's useless even if you use your connections. Lance's reputation doesn't matter to me. 1/3 of the profits can't be reduced at all. It doesn't matter who pleads for him today. Pata imagined that Zhou was trying to plead with Lance, so he said without mercy, I'm just asking if I need to give you face. Zhou ignored Pata and said to Lance on the other end of the line, I'm just asking if I need to give you face. There's no need to give me face. As long as you don't beat me to death, Lance said without asking any questions. Zhou immediately knew that Lance and Pada didn't have a good relationship. It was even possible that this fellow didn't have any connections within the Ultimate Family Clan. If Pada had any connections in the Ultimate Family Clan, Lance wouldn't have said such a thing. Got it. With an idea in mind, Zhou didn't say anything else as he hung up. Pada looked at Zhou and said coldly, Zhou, I advise you to think it through. Since I dared to come here, I'm not afraid of you attacking me. Don't force me to side with Kalaman. You won't be able to bear the consequences, much less guide Ancient City. I've thought it through very clearly. Since there's no need to give Lance face, you should return what isn't yours. As Zhou spoke, he had already secretly switched to the sky-stealing sun-shifting art. Not long ago, Zhou had entered the Endless Cosmos secret dungeon and advanced the sky-stealing sun-shifting art to the Calamity grade. Now, he could use Pada to test it out. End of this chapter. Chapter 1705. The Endless Sea of Stars hidden dungeon was on a small planet. After Zhou was sucked into the planet, he realized that there was a dimensional creature that he had never seen in the Endless Sea of Stars. It was somewhat similar to a planet devourer. It looked very similar to a jellyfish. It had a transparent hemispherical body and countless tentacles below. They were much more numerous than a jellyfish. However, this dimensional creature was only the size of a basketball. It wasn't as huge as a planet devourer. Inside the hidden dungeon, there was a terrifying suction force everywhere. It was much more terrifying than the suction force outside the small planet. Zhou couldn't move at all in the hidden dungeon. The jellyfish-like dimensional creature instantly arrived above the red figurine's head. Countless tentacles wrapped around the red figurine's head, making Zhou feel like his body was being sucked dry. He immediately summoned the Chaos Egg to protect himself before he managed to withstand the jellyfish's attack. The jellyfish constantly attacked the Chaos Egg. Although Zhou couldn't move, he discovered something. The jellyfish also couldn't move in the hidden dungeon. All its actions were completed through spatial teleportation, which meant that it was constantly teleporting. Although Zhou could continuously teleport, he wanted to be like the jellyfish, constantly teleporting. There was almost no interval between teleportations, making it look like he wasn't teleporting. It sounded difficult to understand, but in fact, because the interval between teleportations was too short, the jellyfish Zhou saw was actually just an afterimage. The real jellyfish had already teleported the next time Zhou saw it. What powerful spatial powers! It's only because dimensional creatures have special physiques that they can reach such a level. It's impossible for a human's body to withstand such continuous teleportation. Zhou attempted to teleport in the hidden dungeon. Indeed, as he had expected, he could use spatial powers to move in the hidden dungeon without any restrictions. The jellyfish's spatial powers were very powerful, but after Zhou's observation, it was likely only at the human stage. As its spatial powers were too powerful, it probably wouldn't be easy for others to kill it. Even if someone at the Hell stage came, they might not be able to gain the upper hand. However, it wasn't difficult for Zhou to kill the jellyfish. Sure, you could resist the suction force of the hidden dungeon, and he was proficient in spatial powers. Killing the jellyfish was a piece of cake. Zhou didn't do that because he wanted to learn the technique of continuous teleportation from the jellyfish. He wanted to see if he could achieve such teleportation with his human body. If he could really do that, it would be very difficult for ordinary calamity grades to hurt him. Zhou originally fought the jellyfish with the attitude of practicing, but to his surprise, something strange happened when the jellyfish teleported to the Chaos Egg. The jellyfish at the mortal realm didn't have the ability to break through the Chaos Egg's defense. It was the same this time. The jellyfish couldn't hurt the Chaos Egg at all. Strangely, the companion beast armor Zhou was wearing suddenly vanished, and in the jellyfish's transparent hemispherical body, a miniature armored companion beast appeared before quickly vanishing. Zhou was surprised to discover that his armored companion beast had been deemed dead by the game system. Isn't that eldest senior brother Lu Yun's Star Stealer? This fellow actually knows it too? Zhou was first alarmed before he was overjoyed. He had always wanted to learn Star Stealer, but despite grinding the endless cosmos countless times, he failed to obtain the Star Stealer skill crystal. Now that the jellyfish actually had such a skill, perhaps he could think of a solution from it. Furthermore, the jellyfish's abilities were clearly stronger than Lu Yun's Star Stealer. To be able to snatch a companion beast through the Chaos Egg was probably something even Lu Yun couldn't do. He originally didn't plan on immediately killing the jellyfish, but now that he had a new idea, Zhou didn't want to kill it. Zhou attempted to analyze and learn the jellyfish's ability, but it didn't take long for him to realize that it was impossible for him to learn the jellyfish's ability. This was because it wasn't an ordinary essence energy skill, but a talent of the jellyfish. Unless Zhou transformed into a jellyfish's body, it was impossible for him to learn it. Disappointed, Zhou still used the jellyfish to practice for a period of time. When he was almost done with his teleportation technique, although it was still inferior to the jellyfish's, he could only slowly hone it himself. Fighting the jellyfish was no longer effective, so he killed it. A domain core dropped from the jellyfish's body. It was this domain core that allowed the sky-stealing sun-shifting art to advance to the calamity grade. What surprised Zhou even more was that the domain core contained the jellyfish's talent ability because it was nurtured by the jellyfish itself. After the sky-stealing sun-shifting art condensed the calamity domain, it came with an ability similar to Star Stealer. Of course, it was only an additional ability. The calamity domain's abilities weren't limited to that. Sky-stealing sun-shifting art, universe reversal, human. The sky-stealing sun-shifting art was previously best at long-distance teleportation. The Godfiend era was the king of short-distance teleportation, but after advancing to the calamity grade, the sky-stealing sun-shifting art's teleportation ability had been greatly enhanced. It could almost be said to have reached the microscopic stage. In the past, Zhou long-distance teleportation was very inaccurate, but now, it could be accurate to within a millimeter. It was much more accurate than satellite positioning. Of course, this wasn't the main ability of universe reversal. This was just the strengthening of the calamity domain's terror transformation. In fact, Zhou still hadn't figured out the true ability of universe reversal. This was because Calomon had come knocking while Zhou was studying universe reversal. Zhou hadn't truly studied it thoroughly. From the results of his research, universe reversal could change some of the laws of the universe. For example, gravity acted downwards, and universe reversal could completely reverse the effects of gravity. When the time came, everything on the ground would fly up by themselves. It sounded unbelievable, but it wasn't really unreasonable. Zhou understood it this way. It was like the yin and yang poles of a magnet. Originally, opposites attracted and repelled each other. Universe reversal changed one of the yin and yang sides that were originally attracted to each other into the same side, so they naturally repelled each other. This was only Zhou's current understanding. As he hadn't studied universe reversal deeply enough, Zhou didn't dare conclude if his understanding was wrong. It's time to try universe reversal's ability to steal companion beasts. Zhou looked at Pata, who was wearing the leakless golden turtle armor, and secretly circulated the sky-stealing sun-shifting art. According to the results of Zhou's previous experiments, he had to come into contact with the other party's companion beast to steal it back. End of this chapter. Chapter 1706. Pata's flaunting of the leakless golden turtle in front of Zhou was equivalent to sending himself to his doorstep. Regardless of whether the leakless golden turtle was one of the three companion beasts from Small Buddha Temple or not, a companion beast that could withstand taboo powers was extremely rare. There was no reason not to take it. Pata clearly didn't think so. He had traveled extensively over the years and entered countless dangerous dimensional zones. The leakless golden turtle's miraculous performance had constantly accumulated his confidence. He was very certain that as long as he wore the leakless golden turtle armor, no one could stop him if he wanted to leave. Furthermore, he had a companion beast that could teleport instantly. He could instantly teleport thousands of kilometers away. Coupled with the leakless golden turtle, Pata was confident that he could leave safely, so he was rather fearless. Seeing Zhou extend his palm and strike at him, Pata didn't feel his strength being affected by the taboo power. He imagined that Zhou's taboo power was useless against him. "I'll show you what a true excellent grade companion beast is." Pata wasn't in a rush to teleport away. He wanted to showcase the leakless golden turtle's strength in front of Zhou and company. From his point of view, even if Zhou was at the calamity grade, it was unlikely that he could break through the hell-grade leakless golden turtle's defense. Taking a step back, even if Zhou could break through it, it was impossible for him to kill him in one strike. Apart from Human Emperor's freakish companion beast, Pata wasn't afraid of anyone on Earth. Even if he fought Karaman, who had powerful offensive strength, he would dare stand still and receive 3 punches from Karaman. Of course, the reason why Pata did this was mainly to make Zhou understand how powerful the leakless golden turtle was. Finally, he could make a deal with him. After all, lending a companion beast to Karaman gave him limited benefit. 30% of Guide Ancient City's profits was a huge and endless amount of benefit. "Come on, I'll stand here and let you hit me. I'll show you what a true top-notch defensive companion beast is." Pata straightened his back and stood proudly on the spot. He looked as if he did not care about him at all, which was quite imposing. Zhou slapped Pata, but it didn't hurt him at all. He was secretly feeling smug. The King of Thieves is nothing much after all. After all, he's only an expert before the spokesperson appeared. Compared to the current spokesperson, he's still lacking in strength. If not for the taboo power restraining Kalaman, Guide Ancient City would have long been demolished by Kalaman. Now it was just right for me. Wasn't 30% a little too little for me? That's right, now that you've hit me with your palm, if you want to ask me for help, then it won't be a problem that can be solved with 30%. At least 40% no. 50% will do. Pata was still imagining Zhou and company pleading with him in horror, preventing him from lending his companion beast to Kalaman no matter what. Just as he was thinking about it, Pata suddenly felt a chill on his body. That feeling was similar to being stripped naked and thrown into the snow in the middle of winter. A little cold? Does Zhou have ice elemental powers? This bit of frost is useless against me. Just as Pata was thinking, he suddenly felt that something was amiss. He couldn't sense the leakless golden turtle's consciousness. No. Impossible. Pata thought of a possibility, but he couldn't accept it at all. Or rather, he refused to accept it. When he looked down at his body, he was horrified to discover that the golden armor on his body had vanished. All that was left was the clothes he usually wore. Leakless golden turtle. Where's the leakless golden turtle? Pata couldn't accept it at all. He repeatedly summoned the leakless golden turtle, but there was no reaction. Zhou was somewhat surprised. This was because he had used the power of universe reversal from the beginning to steal the leakless golden turtle, but to his surprise, the power didn't take effect immediately. It was unknown if it was because the universe reversal was only at the human stage, preventing him from stealing a hell stage companion beast, or if it was because the leakless golden turtle's abilities were so freakish that it could even withstand the power of universe reversal. Only then did Zhou activate the teacher domain, hoping to figure out the laws of the leakless golden turtle's powers. To his surprise, the originally useless universe reversal came into play under the wizard pagoda, allowing him to steal the leakless golden turtle back. Zhouwen could only slowly study the principles behind it in the future. Zhouwen's torment gave Pata some time to imagine. He had also experienced heaven and hell in such a short period of time. What did you do to me? Pata looked at Zhouwen in horror. Up to now, he still refused to believe that the leakless golden turtle was gone. He even hoped that Zhouwen had used some taboo power to seal it. It was no wonder Pata wasn't willing to believe it. The reason why he had his present achievements and status was basically because of the leakless golden turtle. Once it was gone, he lost most of his strength. I heard you describe the leakless golden turtle so well. Let me play with it. Zhouwen extended his hand and beckoned. The leakless golden turtle appeared in front of him. Its golden body was motionless like a statue. Play? Pata instantly felt a lack of oxygen in his brain as his mind instantly went blank. You. Return the leakless golden turtle to me. Pata was overwhelmed with anxiety as he spoke incoherently. When he snapped to his senses, he hurriedly added, Mr. Zhou, it was all my fault. I was just joking with you. On account of Lance, please return the leakless golden turtle to me. I'll leave immediately. I guarantee I won't lend it to Calomon. No. Calomon is nothing. You don't take him to heart at all. In the future, if you have any errands for me, I'll definitely be at your beck and call. Li Xian nearly burst out laughing. Didn't you ask about Zhou Wen's nickname before coming? Do you think he's called King of Thieves for nothing? Haven't you heard of thieves never leaving empty-handed? Besides, you delivered yourself to me. You still want to take it back? Are you dreaming? On account of Lance and the ultimate family clan, I'll spare your life. Leave, Zhouwen said casually. Pata refused to give up. The leakless golden turtle was his everything. He was about to go crazy. Why? Do you still want to leave your life behind? Li Xian interrupted him coldly. Pata's heart chilled. Only then did he realize that without the leakless golden turtle's protection, he was no longer absolutely safe. If Zhouwen and company really wanted to kill him, he might not have a chance of escaping. Pata steeled his heart as he turned and flew away. No one stopped him, allowing him to successfully leave Guide Ancient City. Zhouwen had indeed let him leave on account of Lance. Otherwise, he wouldn't have let him leave Guide Ancient City alive. After Pata left Guide Ancient City, his mind turned adrift as though he was dreaming. Chapter 1707. Pata was in a daze when he suddenly heard his phone ring. He subconsciously took it out and pressed the answer button. Pata, have you arrived? Where are you now? Quickly lend me the leakless golden turtle. Calomon's anxious voice sounded from the phone. Upon hearing Calomon mention the leakless golden turtle, Pata felt even more stifled. He had suffered a huge blow and hadn't recovered from it. Now that he was truly awake, he felt even more pained. Lend my ass. Don't look for me for anything related to Zhouwen in the future. Pata cursed and hung up before switching off his phone. Calomon was baffled by the scolding and didn't know what was going on. He immediately called back, but he heard the notification that the other party had switched off his phone. What's going on? Calomon had an odd expression as he recalled Pata's words. Don't look for me for anything related to Zhouwen in the future. He had a rough guess. This fellow went to Zhouwen and even suffered a loss? Calomon had guessed a portion of it. Although it wasn't everything, he was already somewhat afraid. Although Pata's strength is a little weaker, he has the leakless golden turtle to protect him. He shouldn't have suffered a loss, but from Pata's tone, it seems like he suffered a huge loss. Could it be that the leakless golden turtle can't withstand Zhouwen's taboo power? Calomon never expected that Pata had even lost the leakless golden turtle to Zhouwen. Zhouwen was rather comfortable at home as he looked at the leakless golden turtle's stats. Leakless golden turtle, calamity grade, evolvable, life providence, leakless body life soul, undying indestructible wheel of destiny, invulnerable terror form, invincible Vajras grade, calamity domain, selfless invincibility, hell, strength, 200 speed, 200 constitution, 200 essence energy, 200 talent skill, guardian, seal break, exorcism, eternal, companion form. Armor, it just advanced to hell grade, so its stats are still the most basic stats of hell grade. Zhouwen was greedy. He originally wondered if the leakless golden turtle's stats had already reached the peak of hell grade. He didn't think about it. How could an ordinary person obtain so many resources to feed a calamity grade companion beast? Pata had already invested a lot to get the leakless golden turtle to the hell grade. This was only because he had become the spokesperson and used most of the resources given by the dimensional races on the leakless golden turtle. Otherwise, it was hard to say if the leakless golden turtle could advance to the calamity stage by himself. Zhouwen was somewhat curious if the leakless golden turtle could withstand sure use power, so he summoned it to give it a try. He realized that it really wasn't afraid of sure use power, or rather, it wasn't completely afraid. Sure, you could also affect the leakless golden tortoise, but he couldn't completely seal it. Zhouwen didn't continue studying it. The better the leakless golden turtle was, the more uncomfortable he felt. If it was really one of the 3 companion beasts of small Buddha temple, it would definitely be devoured by Truth Listener in the future. No matter how well he studied it, he wouldn't be able to keep it. It would only make him feel worse. Let me see if it's really you. I hope not. Zhouwen summoned Truth Listener, hoping to see if it would have any reaction to the leakless golden turtle. When Truth Listener saw the leakless golden turtle, its golden eyes lit up. Before Zhouwen could say a word, the earrings on its ears shattered. Soon, it transformed into the form of a golden ape and charged forward to bite the leakless golden turtle. It's really me. Zhouwen was somewhat helpless. He ordered the leakless golden turtle not to resist and got Truth Listener to swallow it. After swallowing the leakless golden turtle, Truth Listener automatically turned into a tattoo and returned to Zhouwen's body. No matter how Zhouwen summoned it, it couldn't be summoned. This fellow is becoming more and more willful. Did he learn bad things from demonic neonate? Zhouwen mumbled to himself as he began studying his next goal to advance to the calamity grade. Now, the only essence energy arts that hadn't advanced to the calamity grade were the Godfiend era and the Demon God catalog. Zhouwen definitely wouldn't head to Chess Mountain now. Even if he did, he would wait for Truth Listener to digest it. The origins of the Godfiend era are unknown. I don't even know which Pantheon's essence energy art is. However, its attributes are related to space. I'll find a spatial dimensional zone to give it a try. Zhouwen didn't have any particularly suitable dungeons on his phone, so he could only flip through the information, hoping to find a more suitable dimensional zone. Immortal Crossing Jade Tower. Where's the person I want? A cold woman's voice sounded from the Jade Tower. Wang Mingyuan sighed softly and said, I've already handed the memento to Zhouwen. He hasn't come. Perhaps he has already made up his mind, or perhaps he hasn't thought it through. That's not the answer I want. The woman's voice didn't contain any emotion. There was no joy, anger, sorrow, or joy, but it made one feel a sense of reverence when they heard it. It was as though they were listening to the teachings of a god. Wang Mingyuan wasn't afraid as he said calmly, He's only my disciple, not my son. Even if he's my son, he might not completely listen to me. If you can't do it, what's the point of keeping you alive? The woman said indifferently, but it was as though she had Wang Mingyuan's life in her hands. I know the whereabouts of that immortal sword. Wang Mingyuan didn't seem to care about his life as he continued smiling. I hope what you say next can be exchanged for your life, the woman said. The sword is at Kunlun Mountain, Wang Mingyuan answered. How do you know that the sword is at Kunlun Mountain? The woman didn't believe Wang Mingyuan. I saw it with my own eyes, Wang Mingyuan answered frankly. Since you can see it, why didn't you bring the sword back? The woman asked again. I can see it, but I can't get it. Why? The dimensional creatures at Kunlun Mountain are not something I can match. There's a phoenix guarding the sword. What kind of phoenix? The woman's question was somewhat odd. Dragons were lustful by nature. There were many mixed-blood dragons, but phoenixes were pure. She had never heard of the existence of different types of phoenixes. Phoenix as in phoenix. Wang Mingyuan's answer was also very odd. However, the woman seemed to understand as she said thoughtfully, "It's no wonder. It's indeed not something you can match." After a pause, the woman said, "If you were to go to Kunlun Mountain again, would you be able to find the sword? If it's just a look, I can lead the way at any time." "I will definitely not disappoint you, Immortal Supremacy," said Wang Mingyuan with a smile. The meaning behind his words was very clear. He could lead the way, but it was absolutely impossible for him to retrieve the sword. "All you need to do is lead the way. Someone will naturally retrieve the sword," said the woman. "I'll be at your disposal at any time, Immortal Supremacy," said Wang Mingyuan. "Stay in the Immortals and wait for my orders. Someone will inform you when the time comes." With that said, the woman fell silent. Wang Mingyuan bowed slightly before turning to leave the Immortal Crossing Jade Tower. Inside the Immortal Crossing Jade Tower, a cyan-clothed woman frowned slightly as though she was thinking about something important. Chapter 1708. Zhouwen flipped through a lot of information. Although there weren't many spatial dimensional zones, Guide Ancient City's information sources were increasingly diverse. The intelligence department was constantly improving, allowing Zhouwen to see quite a number of spatial dimensional zones. However, no matter how he looked, he wasn't sure which one was more compatible with the Godfiend era. Just as Zhouwen was considering which spatial dimensional zone to visit first, Lu Yun suddenly called. "Junior brother, it's been so long since we last met. Did you miss your beloved eldest senior brother?" Lu Yun was as greasy as ever. "I'm more interested in the treasures you have," Zhouwen subconsciously replied. Every time he met Lu Yun, Zhouwen seemed to be able to obtain something good. For a long period of time, Zhouwen treated Lu Yun as a treasure giver. This was really what he said. When Lu Yun heard that, he said in an extremely ambiguous and exaggerated tone, "Junior brother, I never expected you to be such a person. Although I'm indeed powerful, I'm really not interested in men." Zhouwen was taken aback before he reacted. "If you have something to say, say it. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up." "Don't be so petty. You can't even take a joke. I have something serious to discuss with you," Lu Yun said. "I'm busy. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up." Zhouwen didn't really hang up. "I found something good in a dimensional zone. Are you interested in taking a look?" Lu Yun hurriedly said. "You'll look for me if there's something good? Tell me, what's the matter?" Zhouwen didn't believe that Lu Yun would share something good with him out of goodwill. It's nothing much. It's just that I can't handle that dimensional zone myself. If you're interested, let's give it a try. I won't take advantage of you. We'll split everything we get," Lu Yun said with a grin. "What dimensional zone? What's good inside? What can't you handle? Tell me everything in detail." "I'm saying if I agree to go with you and find anything different from what you said, don't blame me for turning my back on you." Zhouwen knew Lu Yun too well. Although this fellow wasn't a bad person, he was definitely not a good person. At most, 70% of his words could be trusted. "Have you heard of Kunlun Mountain?" Lu Yun's tone became much more serious. "Which Kunlun Mountain are you talking about?" Zhouwen asked. "An expert. It's definitely not the one on the map," said Lu Yun with a smile. "You found the legendary Kunlun Mountain?" Zhouwen was truly alarmed. The Kunlun Mountain on the map was not the same as the Kunlun Mountain in the legends. Kunlun Mountain was also known as Kunlun Void, and there were many versions of it. Some said that Kunlun Mountain was ruled by the Queen Mother of the West, some said that it was the capital of the human sovereign, Fuxi, and some said that it was the home of the gods. although there were many versions of the legend, and it was hard to tell which one was true and which one was false. In all versions of the myth and legend, it was a top place for immortals. Those who could be related to Kunlun Mountain were basically the super-immortals of the Eastern god system. I did find it, and I also discovered something good. However, I can't take it out by myself. If we work together, there's still hope, Lu Yun said sincerely. If it's really the legendary Kunlun Mountain, do you think I can get a bargain from that place? After Zhou Wen had seen the horror of Chess Mountain, he didn't dare easily enter the unknown top-dimensional zones. Although the mythical creatures in Chess Mountain were terrifying, they were slightly inferior to Kunlun Mountain. I've already made a trip inside. Didn't I return safely? Don't worry. I've already investigated everything and have a plan. I'm just lacking a helper. Are you coming? Lu Yun said solemnly. Tell me, what do you want? Although Zhou Wen was somewhat tempted, he couldn't easily agree to Lu Yun's request before figuring out the situation. I'll tell you the truth. I found a sword in Kunlun Mountain, a very powerful sword. You are very familiar with Human Sovereign's sword. That sword is definitely not inferior to Human Sovereign's. However, there's a powerful dimensional creature guarding the sword. I can't handle it myself, so I sought your help, Lu Yun told the truth. How do you know that sword isn't inferior to Human Sovereign's sword? Zhou Wen knew that Lu Yun wanted to say that he was Human Sovereign, but he pretended not to understand. Because that sword is very similar to Human Sovereign's sword. I reckon it might have some connections with Human Sovereign's sword. Lu Yun hesitated for a moment before continuing. I suspect that Human Sovereign's sword might be one of the legendary 4 immortal vanquishing swords, and the one I found in Kunlun Mountain might be one of them. One of the 4 immortal vanquishing swords? Zhou Wen was really interested this time, but he still had to make things clear. What's the level of the dimensional creature guarding the sword? It might be the heavenly realm, Lu Yun answered hesitantly. What do you mean it might be the heavenly realm? Zhou Wen frowned. Because I can't be sure either. It's just a guess. It's the truth. Do you think I can fight such a dimensional creature? If I really fight, I probably won't have the strength to talk to you even if I can come out alive, Lu Yun said helplessly. That's true. Zhou Wen pondered for a moment and said after some thought, I can agree to go with you to take a look, but whether I want to participate in the operation or not will depend on the situation when I get there. If you agree, I'll go with you. If not, pretend I never heard of it. Sure. I'll send you the coordinates. Teleport over directly. We'll meet there. After saying that, Lu Yun hung up and sent Zhou Wen the coordinate. Don't tell me this fellow is trying to scam me again? Zhou Wen didn't dare teleport over casually. He took the coordinates and compared them to the map to see where the coordinates Lu Yun had given him were. Zhou Wen also wanted to know where the mythical Kunlun Mountain was. Of course, he had another reason for going there. He wanted to see if he could find the tiny palm symbol. It would be best if he could download the Kunlun Mountain dungeon into his phone. Why is it here? Zhou Wen looked at the coordinates on the map and couldn't help but feel surprised. He originally imagined that the mythical Kunlun Mountain wasn't the present Kunlun Mountain. It was likely a relatively remote area, but the coordinates weren't too far from where Zhou Wen was. It was a small county city named Yang City County. After checking some information online, he learned that Yang City hadn't fallen and that there were still people living there. Only then did he feel relieved. He planned on teleporting over to meet up with Lu Yun and see what the legendary Kunlun Mountain looked like. Chapter 1709. Yang County City had hundreds of thousands of people before the dimensional storms. Now, there were less than 50,000 people living in the county city. This was because there weren't many dimensional zones near Yang County City, and there were very few breakout creatures. There were a few dimensional zones in Yang County City, but they weren't famous. He hadn't heard of any major commotion. Before Zhou Wen came, He had read some information about Yang County City. He guessed that if Kunlun Mountain was nearby, the most likely place was Xianqing Mountain. Legend had it that Xianqing Mountain was a place where Shang Tang prayed for rain. The locals also called it Saint King Square. It got its name because the surrounding cliffs resembled a city, and the depression in the middle resembled a basin. Xianqing Mountain was a typical karst geologic landform. There were limestone funnels of all sizes on the mountain. The locals had a saying that there were 72 dragon nests, 124 ghost millstones, and 360 small metal pots. It was said that the large karst cave could accommodate more than 10,000 people. However, ever since the dimensional storms, Xianqing Mountain had become even more complicated. There was a high chance that people would get lost inside. Furthermore, no one had seen any dimensional creatures inside. There were too many dimensional zones that didn't produce dimensional creatures and had no idea of their origins. Typically, very few people would take the initiative to explore them. The reason why Zhou Wen suspected that this was the Kunlun Mountain that Lu Yun had mentioned was because in the information he had found on the internet, someone had said that this was the ancient legendary Kunlun Mountain. However, this saying was only circulated in a small circle. Not many people knew about it. Zhou Wen had only found it after searching the internet. He had no idea that there was such a saying in the past. Junior brother, look at your glowing face. You've been doing well recently. Just as Zhou Wen was sizing up Yang County City, Lu Yun appeared out of nowhere and came over with a grin. You don't seem to be doing well. Zhou Wen looked at Lu Yun and realized that he hadn't advanced to the Calamity Realm. There's nothing I can do about it. The old fellow doesn't let me go to the dimension. I can only rely on myself. I wonder when I can advance to the Calamity Realm. In my opinion, it's a waste not to take the dimensional resources. It's great to get benefits without doing any work, Lu Yun grumbled. Zhou Wen knew that the old fellow Lu Yun was referring to was Jing Daoxian. It was said that Lu Yun was Jing Daoxian's grandson, but Zhou Wen wasn't sure if it was true. What's the situation now? Although Zhou Wen was very curious about what Jing Daoxian had been doing recently, he knew that it was useless even if he asked, so he decided not to ask. You didn't bring that chick over. Lu Yun sized up Zhou Wen for a while before suddenly saying, Why did you bring it here? Zhou Wen frowned. Since Lu Yun had taken the initiative to mention the chick, it was obvious that he had some plans. Didn't I tell you? There is a phoenix in Kunlun Mountain. That little bird in your house should be a phoenix, right? If we bring it over, we might be able to acknowledge its kin. We can take the sword without fighting, said Lu Yun. When did you tell me there was a phoenix in Kunlun Mountain? Zhou Wen glared at him and continued, Besides, phoenixes aren't necessarily relatives. How can there be such a good thing? Zhou Wen wouldn't bring the chick to a place like Kunlun Mountain to take the risk. It was more like waiting for the chick to advance to the heavenly realm. I'm just saying, let's go take a look at the situation first. If you're confident, we'll do something big. If you're not, we'll retreat and come up with a long-term plan, Lu Yun said as he turned around and headed in the direction of Xianqing Mountain. Don't tell me the Kunlun Mountain you mentioned is Xiqing Mountain? Zhou Wen asked as he walked. That's right. The path inside isn't easy to traverse. Only I, the number one godly thief in the world, can bring people around freely. If it were anyone else, even an immortal in the heavens might not be able to come out. Lu Yun was smug as though it was true. It's been so long, but your abilities haven't improved. Your bragging skills are getting better and better, Zhou Wen teased. I'm really not bragging this time. What kind of place is the mythical Kunlun Mountain? It's the home of 10,000 immortals. To put it bluntly, ordinary immortals are just ordinary mountain dwellers in Kunlun Mountain. As the two chatted, they quickly arrived in front of Xiqing Mountain. The terrain of Xiqing Mountain was not very steep. The mountain peaks formed a circle like a sleeping tiger. It really looked like a mountain city. Xiqing Mountain has 4 doors. Now, they are the 4 entrances to the dimensional zone. However, if you really enter from these 4 doors, you will never be able to see what the real Xiqing Mountain looks like. Lu Yun led Zhou in another direction and didn't head for the nearest mountain gate. Why? Zhou asked in puzzlement. 4 in the open and 5 in the dark. Xiqing Mountain actually has a total of 9 doors. Didn't the classic of mountains and seas say that the void of Kunlun is 400 kilometers wide and 10,000 feet high? On it are trees, 5 fathoms long and 5 wide. On the face are 9 wells with jade as railings. On the face are 9 doors, and the door is guarded by an enlightened beast. If Xiqing Mountain is really Kunlun Mountain, there will naturally be 9 doors, Lu Yun answered. What do you mean if? Zhou frowned slightly. It's just a guess. Although it's definitely not far from the truth, there's always a possibility. I'm a cautious person, so I can't be certain, Lu Yun said. Just as Zhou was about to say something, Lu Yun stopped by a pool against the mountain wall. He pointed at the pool and said, "We're here. This is one of the 9 doors of Kunlun Mountain. Only by entering from here can we see what the real Kunlun Mountain looks like. There's no rush. Let's take a look first. Didn't you say that there are a total of 9 doors? Then bring me to all 9 doors." Zhou sized up the pool and didn't see the tiny palm symbol nearby. Zhou didn't really care if he could enter Kunlun Mountain, but he had to find the tiny palm symbol. Apart from the 4 doors, I only know of this one. The other doors are hidden in the dark. I won't be able to find them in a short time. Besides, what's so good about those doors? Can't we just enter? Lu Yun seemed a little anxious when he saw Zhou turn around and leave. What's the rush? Zhou turned around and sized up Lu Yun. Am I in a rush? Lu Yun chuckled. Yes. Zhou nodded seriously. He felt that something was amiss with Lu Yun. He was definitely hiding something from him. Sigh, I'm just anxious to get the sword as soon as possible. Look at how impressive human emperor is. If I have that sword, my future achievements will definitely not be inferior to human emperors. I might even be able to obtain the title of Thief Emperor. Hey, don't go. Seeing Zhou turn around and leave, Lu Yun hurriedly chased after him. As Zhou and Lu Yun wandered around Xiqing Mountain, a cyan-clothed woman walked in the direction of Xiqing Mountain. She was clearly dressed in ordinary clothes and didn't look eye-catching, but when he looked carefully, he couldn't tell what she looked like. It was even difficult to describe her figure. Chapter 17:10. Kunlun. The woman stood in front of the northern gate of Xiqing Mountain and stared at the strange mountain as though she was thinking about something. Immortal Supremacy, are you really going to enter the mountain personally? The white-robed Wang Mingyuan stood not far behind the woman and said respectfully. Can't I enter Kunlun? The woman said indifferently. Although the world is huge, there's naturally nowhere you can't go. However, Earth hasn't been completely broken, so it's somewhat inconvenient. Why do you have to enter the mountain personally? It's good to find a subordinate to enter the mountain with me to investigate the situation, Wang Mingyuan said. You don't have to put it in such a roundabout way. Even I will be restricted on Earth, the woman said indifferently. But so what? Ignoring the restrictions, even if I don't have any strength to use, there's nothing on Earth that can harm me at all. Immortal Supremacy, you're right. Wang Mingyuan didn't say anything else. Why do we have to enter from the north gate? The woman asked as she looked at the mountain gate. Kunlun 9 gates, there are only 4 gates in the light, the east, west, south, and north gates. The other 5 gates are hidden in the dark. I only know 3 of the 5 hidden gates. Entering Kunlun Mountain from those 3 gates, the scenery and things you see are completely different. When you enter Kunlun from the 4 bright gate, although you enter from a different location, it's just a different location. The things you see are the same. Wang Mingyuan paused for a moment before continuing, The swords I see can only be seen by entering the 4 Bright Gate. Since the things you see at the 4 Bright Gate are the same, why don't we enter from the other 3 gates? Why must we enter from the North Gate? The woman asked again. There are mountain god temples outside the other 3 gates. It's difficult to hide our whereabouts if we enter from there. The mountain already knows about it, so it's not convenient for us to do anything, Wang Mingyuan said. Then let's enter from the North Gate. The woman glanced at Wang Mingyuan and nodded slightly. I'll lead the way, Wang Mingyuan said as he walked towards the mountain gate. The woman followed behind Wang Mingyuan unhurriedly and entered the mountain gate one after the other. Junior brother, stop wandering around. Let's quickly enter the mountain. Lu Yun followed beside Zhou Wen and kept persuading him to enter the mountain quickly. There's no rush. Let's walk around first. Zhou Wen was now certain that Lu Yun was hiding something from him. Furthermore, it was something very important. Otherwise, with Lu Yun's personality, he wouldn't be so anxious. Even if he was anxious, he wouldn't show it on his face. I'll tell you the truth. I'm not the only one who knows that there's that sword in Kunlun Mountain. I'm really afraid that someone else will beat me to it. Stop wandering around. Let's quickly enter. When Lu Yun saw Zhou Wen's expression, he knew that if he didn't say anything, it would probably be impossible to pull him into the mountain. Zhou Wen looked at Lu Yun without a word. Lu Yun said anxiously, "Don't look at me like that. I swear that everything I said was the truth. If there's a single lie, I'll be useless for the rest of my life." You actually dared to make such a vicious oath. From the looks of it, you aren't lying to me this time, Zhou Wen said with a nod. Then let's leave quickly. Time waits for no one. We have to get the sword out before the others, said Lu Yun anxiously. I said that I believe you, but I didn't say that we're entering the mountain now. Let's walk around first. As Zhou Wen spoke, he continued walking forward, ignoring if Lu Yun was following him. Junior brother, don't throw a tantrum at a time like this. If the sword is taken by someone else first, don't you think we'll be wronged? When the time comes, there'll be no medicine for regret, Lu Yun said gloomily. Then tell me, who will get it first? Zhou Wen had no intention of turning back as he continued walking forward. This. Lu Yun was stumped. You didn't discover the sword in Kunlun Mountain, Zhou Wen suddenly said. How did you know? Lu Yun was slightly taken aback. You're good at stealing, but there's nothing you can steal from such a place. Without knowing what's inside, you definitely wouldn't run in for fun, right? Zhou Wen said. Alright, I admit it. I really didn't discover it. Lu Yun knew that he definitely couldn't lie to Zhou Wen, so he didn't deny it. Jing Daoxian discovered it? Zhou Wen asked again. The only person who could find such a strange place was probably that strange old man. You really guessed wrong this time. This place really wasn't found by the old fellow first. Lu Yun's answer exceeded Zhou Wen's expectations. Who is it? Zhou Wen asked curiously. I can tell you, but you have to promise me that you will immediately follow me into the mountain after you know the answer, Lu Yun said. Then it's better I don't know. Zhou Wen continued walking forward. Lu Yun was truly anxious as he said helplessly, It was discovered by our traitorous teacher. He was also the one who made a deal with the old fellow. He got me to bring you to retrieve the sword, but he told me not to tell you yet. The human world? Zhou Wen was taken aback before he realized what Lu Yun meant. Why didn't he tell me himself? Zhou Wen frowned. That I don't know. He only told the old fellow that the immortals are very interested in that sword. We have to take it away before the immortals do. If we're late, I'm afraid it'll be too late. It's best you quickly follow me into the mountain, Lu Yun said. That won't work. Zhou Wen had no intention of turning back. What won't work? What I just said is true. If I'm lying to you, I'll make you pluck my head off and use it as a toilet bowl. Lu Yun was really a little anxious. What I mean is that it won't work. Zhou Wen thought for a moment and continued. Teacher discovered this place first, right? That's right. Lu Yun nodded. Since he discovered it first, even if it wasn't convenient for him to retrieve the sword, he could have informed me earlier. Why did he wait until the immortals were almost here before getting you to take me to retrieve the sword? Zhou pondered. Perhaps his environment in the dimension isn't too good, so he didn't have the chance to spread the news, Lu Yun said. If it's really that urgent, why did he take such a big detour and get you to take me there instead of directly telling me the news? Zhou turned around and looked at Lu Yun. After your old man received the news, he should have spent quite a bit of time understanding the situation inside, right? You know that too? Lu Yun looked at Zhou in surprise. With that old man's personality, how can he trust others so easily? Furthermore, he had to risk his grandson's life. If he didn't figure out the situation inside, how could he let you take me in? Zhou said. Now that you mention it, it does seem to be the case, Lu Yun said gloomily. Don't tell me you mean that teacher is trying to scam us? I don't think he would scam us. Perhaps he's just using us as two pawns, Zhou said somewhat absent-mindedly. His gaze and attention were attracted by the scenery in front of him. Chapter 17:11. After circling Shiqing Mountain for so long, Zhou finally saw the tiny palm symbol. However, there was no door that led up the mountain where the tiny palm symbol was. There was a bare stone wall with a fist-sized depression on it. As the nearby mountain walls weren't flat, the depression looked inconspicuous. Junior brother, are you really not planning on entering the mountain? I think that although teacher is a little strange, he won't go so far as to scam us. Furthermore, the old fellow has already gone in to take a look. You know how sharp his eyes are. If he says there's no problem, I don't think it's a big problem, Lu Yun mumbled. Zhou ignored him and took out his phone. With Lu Yun's back, he took a picture of the tiny palm symbol on the mountain wall. The phone immediately displayed a notification that the dungeon was being downloaded. What's there to take a picture of this crappy mountain? Say something. Do you want to enter the mountain or not? Lu Yun was extremely depressed. Look, isn't this mountain wall a little different? Zhou said as he looked at the mountain wall. If not for the tiny palm symbol, Zhou wouldn't have discovered anything amiss here. However, with the tiny palm symbol engraved here, it didn't make sense that there wasn't anything special near the mountain wall. Therefore, after repeated observation, Zhou realized that there was something special about the mountain wall. What's different? Lu Yun was taken aback when he heard that. He couldn't help but carefully size up the mountain wall. The protrusions and depressions on this mountain wall are a little strange, Zhou said as he looked. What's strange about it? Why don't I see anything different? The terrain here is like this. It's all natural. There are no signs of artificial excavation. Lu Yun was somewhat puzzled. He couldn't see any problems. If I'm not wrong, the protrusions and depressions here are arranged according to some mysterious array formation. It looks like there's no pattern, but it's actually a lot of knowledge. Ever since Zhou watched the battle between Truth Listener and Purple Star-Lord, he had a deeper understanding of the great heavenly cycle-stellar array. He did know a little about it. Although he didn't know what the protrusions and depressions were called, a portion of them were very similar to the great heavenly cycle-stellar array. It wasn't difficult for him to draw parallels. You know array formations? Lu Yun looked at Zhou in surprise. I know a little. Let me take a look. If I'm not wrong, there should be another mystery here, Zhou said as he extended his hand to press on one of the protrusions. In the end, nothing happened. He didn't press down on the protruding stone, and there were no changes in the surroundings. Haha, junior brother, there's no need to blush. It's normal for humans to make mistakes. If you don't learn well next time, don't show off. It wasn't easy for him to find a chance to mock Zhou, so he was very happy. Zhou ignored him and pressed down on the other protrusions and depressions in a certain manner. Junior brother, array formations originate from the Book of Changes. It's a specialized knowledge. It's not something that can be learned just by understanding it. If you really want to learn, I'll recommend you to the Zhang family. Their family is good at this. Lu Yun was speaking happily when the smile on his face suddenly froze. After Zhou Wen finished his final slap, he heard a crack as a hole suddenly cracked open in the mountain wall. The hole wasn't big. It was only slightly bigger than a dog hole. People could probably only crawl inside. Ordinary people couldn't stand up. Holy sh*t, there really is one. Could this be one of the 9 gates of Kunlun? However, this door is too small. It's very difficult for people to enter and exit. Can the creatures in Kunlun Mountain crawl out? Lu Yun widened his eyes. I wonder if I can reach the place you mentioned if I enter from here, Zhou Wen said as he sized up the hole. I'm afraid no one knows about this mountain gate. If we enter from here, we might encounter something. Let's not waste time. If you want to enter, use the door I mentioned. Lu Yun didn't want to take the risk. Kunlun Mountain wasn't a place he could take risks casually. Zhou Wen didn't plan on entering from here either. Just like Lu Yun, he wasn't willing to risk his life. After all, he had already downloaded the dungeon on his phone. He could slowly explore it in-game in the future. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly heard a strange sound coming from the hole. It was as though something was rubbing against a rock. What's that sound? Zhou Wen sized up the hole. It didn't look like there was anything blocking him, but he could only see a meter or 2 in. He couldn't see anything beyond that. All he could see was pitch-black darkness. The darkness wasn't an obstacle to Zhou Wen's vision. He could see clearly no matter how dark it was. It wasn't as simple as it being dark. It sounds like someone is using sandpaper to grind the rock. Lu Yun listened for a while before continuing. That sound seems to be getting closer and closer to the hole. Don't tell me something is coming out? What could it be? A breakout creature? Zhou Wen was somewhat curious as he retreated for a period of time, his eyes still staring intently at the hole. Lu Yun retreated even further than Zhou Wen. If something really came out of Kunlun Mountain, it would definitely be an extremely terrifying creature. The stronger the dimensional zone was, the harder it was for the dimensional creatures inside to break out. Just the thought of a creature that could break out of Kunlun Mountain left him terrified. The rubbing sounds coming from the hole became louder and louder. Zhou Wen thought for a long time but couldn't figure out what the sound was. He had never seen any animal make such a sound when crawling out. No matter how he listened, it sounded like someone was grinding rocks. Not long after, the sound of grinding became even more intense. This time, it didn't sound like someone was grinding rocks. It sounded more like someone was cutting rocks. The thin and sharp sound made one's eardrums feel extremely uncomfortable. From the sounds of it, it's probably a big guy coming out. Let's not cause trouble, and quickly close the door. Lu Yun retreated a distance. If any wind blew, he would probably be the first to flee. Since we're about to come out, it won't be too late to leave after seeing what it is, Zhou Wen said as he retreated. The two of them hid behind a boulder in the distance and secretly looked in the direction of the cave entrance. Now, he was really curious about what would crawl out. Junior brother, do you think a chainsaw will crawl out from inside? Lu Yun looked nervous, but he didn't stop talking. Just as Zhou Wen was about to say something, he saw a blurry shadow appear in the cave. He couldn't see what it was. The thing in the cave seemed to walk out of the thick fog. At first, he could only see a vague outline, but as he got closer and closer to the cave entrance, its appearance gradually became clearer. What's this? Finally, Zhou Wen and Lu Yun saw what the thing crawling out of the cave looked like, but they still couldn't recognize it. Chapter 17:12. What's that? Lu Yun looked at the thing that came out of the cave with a look of surprise. How would I know what that is? Zhou Wen couldn't tell what it was either. The thing that came out of the cave didn't look like a living creature. From the part that was exposed outside the cave, it looked a little like a metal container. As only a portion of it was exposed, it was impossible to see its full appearance. It looked like a square metal container with many strange and mysterious patterns engraved on it. It looked extremely ancient. The metal container was still squeezing out. As its body was slightly bigger than the cave, every movement produced an ear-piercing sound from the friction between the metal walls and the mountain walls. It was the sound Zhou Wen and company had previously heard. Clang! Just as Zhou Wen and Lu Yun were watching from afar, the metal container fell out of the cave and landed on the ground. Indeed, it was a metal container that was about the height of a person. It was wide at the top and narrow at the bottom. It was squarish, but it was impossible to tell what it was. The two of them exchanged looks. None of them dared to go out. They hid in the distance and watched for a while. The thing didn't move at all, as though it was really a dead object. Furthermore, after the metal container fell out, nothing else came out of the cave. Lu Yun wanted to know what it was, but he didn't dare take a look himself. He egged Zhou Wen on from the side. "Junior brother, you are very capable and knowledgeable. Why don't you go and see what it is?" "Senior brother, of course." Zhou Wen wasn't willing to take the risk. He didn't move at all, as though he was rooted to the ground. The two of them looked at each other. Neither of them dared to go over. Time ticked by. The two of them waited for more than half an hour, but there was no movement from the metal container. Lu Yun's curiosity was greater than Zhou Wen's. In the end, he couldn't help but summon a companion beast that looked like a cat and a ferret. He controlled it to carefully approach the metal container. The two of them stared at the companion beast and the metal container. Even when the companion beast crawled to the side of the metal container, there was still no movement. "Climb in and see what's inside," Zhou Wen observed for a while. The metal artifact was hollow in the middle. It was a square basin, but he couldn't see what was inside. He used several viewing spells, but all he saw was chaos. He couldn't see what was inside at all. Lu Yun naturally wouldn't take the risk with his main companion beast. The companion beast he summoned was only an ordinary epic companion beast. Even if it died, he wouldn't feel the pinch. He immediately stopped bickering with Zhou Wen and ordered the companion beast to jump up. Seeing that the companion beast was standing on the metal without any problems, Lu Yun ordered it to crawl back in. Just as the companion beast entered, the metal artifact immediately reacted. The metal artifact trembled as though it had been electrocuted. There was a strange light surging inside. Just a moment. Before the two could see anything, the metal of the metal container of the metal was the metal. Is he dead? Zhou Wen couldn't see the situation inside the metal artifact, so he could only ask Lu Yun. Lu Yun wore a strange expression as he didn't answer Zhou Wen's question. His eyes stared intently at the metal artifact. Soon, Lu Yun's companion beast crawled out of the metal artifact. However, the companion beast that crawled out was clearly bigger. Its originally pale yellow fur was now resplendent with golden light, making it look like a golden-furred beast. With a glance, Zhou Wen's eyes widened. With his present abilities, even if he didn't know what species the companion beast was, he could roughly tell its level. The companion beast that Lu Yun summoned was clearly at the epic stage, but after crawling out, it had become at the mythical stage. Both of them immediately realized that the metal tool seemed to be an incredible treasure. "Is your companion beast evolvable?" Zhou Wen asked Lu Yun. If it was an evolvable companion beast, it wouldn't be difficult for it to advance from the epic to the mythical stage because it had obtained the help of a treasure with immense energy. However, if a non-evolved companion beast advanced to the mythical stage in a metal artifact, that would be rather impressive. Yes, it's an evolvable companion beast. From the looks of it, there's quite a lot of energy inside it. It actually advanced to the mythical stage so quickly, Lu Yun said. As Lu Yun spoke, he suddenly teleported to the side of the metal artifact and reached out to grab it. Almost at the same time, Zhou Wen appeared on the other side of the metal artifact and grabbed it with one hand. He knew Lu Yun too well. From Lu Yun's words, he knew that he was definitely lying. The companion beast he had summoned was most likely an epic that couldn't evolve. Now, Lu Yun's actions proved this point. Zhou grabbed the edge of the metal artifact and tried to snatch it away. To be able to advance ordinary companion beasts to the mythical stage, this thing was practically a divine artifact. Ordinary companion beasts could advance to the mythical stage after staying inside for a moment. Just the thought of what changes would happen to a truly high-level companion beast inside was exciting. Lu Yun was only at the Terra grade, so his strength was far inferior to Zhou. Although the two of them had grabbed the edge of the metal artifact, Zhou strength was great as he forcefully pulled the metal artifact towards him. Just as Zhou thought he was about to succeed, Lu Yun's palm that was grabbing the metal artifact suddenly vanished. Zhou felt his palm empty. There was nothing left. Haha, junior brother, I'm inferior to you in fighting, but when it comes to stealing, you're still far from me. Furthermore, I gave you a chance just now, but you didn't take it. Now that I've gotten it, you can't snatch it from me. Lu Yun took 2 steps back and looked at Zhou smugly. Clearly, he had no idea where the metal artifact had gone. Zhou felt somewhat regretful. If he had known this would happen, he would have used universe reversal to get the metal artifact. But it was already too late. Even if Zhou wanted to use universe reversal, it was useless if he couldn't find the metal artifact. Congratulations on obtaining a treasure, eldest senior brother. It's best you take a careful look. That item might not be of use to you. However, Zhou wasn't the kind of person who believed that all the treasures in the world belonged to him. Since he had been careless and let Lu Yun snatch it, he didn't plan on vying for it. Haha, I understand the mentality of saying that the grapes are sour because you can't eat them. Don't worry. I'll check it carefully, but don't you dare touch it again. Lu Yun teleported far away before waving his hand again. It was unknown how he had conjured the metal artifact. As he guarded against Zhou, he carefully observed the metal artifact. Soon, he summoned another epic companion beast and threw it in. A magical scene happened again. The metal artifact trembled. In just a short while, the epic companion beast that Lu Yun had thrown in advanced to the mythical stage. Haha, I've finally struck it rich. Lu Yun roared with laughter, so happy that he nearly jumped up. End of this chapter. Chapter 1713. It's indeed not bad to be able to advance ordinary companion beasts to mythical companion beasts. In other words, Zhou was implying that mythical companion beasts were no longer of much use to people at their level. How do you know that this thing can only advance to a mythical companion beast? However, Lu Yun wasn't convinced. He summoned a Terra-grade companion beast and got it to enter the metal artifact. Zhou didn't believe that this item could evolve a Terra-grade companion beast into a calamity. In that case, a calamity would be too worthless. The metal artifact trembled again, but even when it stopped trembling, Lu Yun's companion beast didn't come out. What's wrong? Could it be that the companion beast was devoured by the metal artifact? Zhou looked at Lu Yun in puzzlement. Lu Yun's expression was somewhat shocked before it turned from shock to pleasant surprise. Then, he laughed out loud. Don't tell me this fellow has gone mad from anger? Zhou frowned slightly. You're the crazy one. He summoned his companion beast from the metal artifact. The companion beast had really advanced from the Terra grade to the Calamity grade. No way. He really advanced to the Calamity level. Zhou was a little stunned. That's not all. Look at what this is. Lu Yun was so happy that his mouth was leaking air. He reached out and touched the metal artifact. After a while, Lu Yun pulled his hand out again. He was holding something in his palm. Look, do you know what this is? Lu Yun opened his hand and saw 3 circular crystals of different sizes in his palm. The small one was about the size of a pigeon's egg, and the big one was like a duck's egg. All of them were colorful and seemed to have some kind of fragrance. What is this? Zhou saw that it didn't look like an essence energy crystal, nor did it look like a domain core. He had no idea what it was. Haha, let me tell you, don't be envious, jealous, or hateful. These are all treasures among treasures. Just now, my Terragrade companion beast only ate one the size of a bean and directly advanced to the Calamity stage. The two just took a whiff and advanced to the mythical stage. Furthermore, there were no side effects. There are 3 more here. Each one is countless times bigger than that one. Haha. Be envious. Be jealous. Unfortunately, you were too late. These treasures are all mine. Lu Yun was so excited that he was almost incoherent. There's such a thing? Zhou gaped in envy. I got it. The metal artifact is definitely Grand Supreme Elder's alchemy furnace. This is the immortal pill refined by Grand Supreme Elder. Perhaps it's the legendary 9 Revolutions golden pill. As Lu Yun spoke, his eyes suddenly lit up. He stared at the 3 crystals in his hand and muttered to himself, this item doesn't have any attribute. Any companion beast can use it. I wonder if humans can use it. Lu Yun was about to go crazy from wanting to advance to Calamity, but Jing Daoxian refused to let him take shortcuts or accept the resources of the dimension. Therefore, Lu Yun kept working hard, but he was still a distance away from advancing to Calamity. Now that these 3 treasures were suddenly placed in front of him, how could he not think too much? Furthermore, by looking at the stats of the 3 companion beasts after they evolved, not only could this item evolve companion beasts, but the evolved stats were also supreme grade. They were in no way inferior to companion beasts that evolved using domain cores. You'll know once you try it, Zhou said casually. To his surprise, Lu Yun stared at the crystals in his hand for a while before throwing the smallest one into his mouth. Holy sh*t, do you have a death wish? You dare eat this randomly? What's with Grand Supreme Elder's golden pill? Is Kunlun related to Grand Supreme Elder? Zhou was alarmed. Although the items were good, he couldn't eat them randomly. Something that was a divine medicine for companion beasts might be poison if eaten by humans. How can it not be related? Legend has it that Kunlun is the holy land of Taoism. I know what I'm doing. Lu Yun didn't mind at all, as though he was confident. Just as he said that, Zhou saw Lu Yun's skin turn crystalline as though a colorful luster was emitting from it. Lu Yun's expression was excited and pleasantly surprised. He reached out and swallowed the 2 large crystals. Just as he swallowed the 2 crystals, he saw a colorful stream of light rise from Lu Yun's body. It was as though an immortal aura spewed out, emitting a strange fragrance. Lu Yun circulated the sky-stealing, sun-shifting art. Starlight shone around him as though he was the center of the universe. Countless stars revolved around him like a pocket universe. The pocket universe was originally just a monotonous white. As the immortal aura fused with it, it gradually turned into a gorgeous color. The energy nurtured inside became more and more terrifying. Can it really be done? Could it really be Grand Supreme Elder's golden pill? Zhou was dumbfounded. Lu Yun was clearly condensing a calamity domain to advance to the calamity grade. Now, Zhou really regretted it. If he had taken action earlier, these treasures would have been his. Soon, Lu Yun's calamity domain condensed and officially advanced to the calamity grade. Haha, junior brother, to think that you would have such a day. You finally suffered at my hands, right? Not only did this thing allow me to advance to the calamity grade, but the calamity domain condensed is also the best of the best. Lu Yun looked up and laughed. He looked smug as though he was an emperor who had obtained the empire. Congratulations, eldest senior brother, Zhou said as he couldn't help but glance into the cave. Since there was such an item in the cave, there might be more. Even he was very tempted by such a treasure. The 2 of them looked at each other and instantly understood what the other was thinking. They rushed into the cave almost at the same time. Although the immortal sword was good, they might not be able to obtain it. However, the treasures here were real. If it was really Grand Supreme Elder's alchemy lab inside, wouldn't they make a killing? Thinking of what Monkey Sun had done after entering Grand Supreme Elder's alchemy lab, Zhou and Lu Yun wanted to do it again. The two of them rushed into the cave one after another. Thankfully, they were rather rational people. They weren't completely blinded by the benefit. They were very careful and even summoned several companion beasts to scout ahead. To their surprise, although the path was rugged and long, there was no danger at all. The two of them carefully proceeded forward, and nothing happened. After a long time, the two of them finally reached the end of the cave. They crawled out of a hole and found a stone chamber inside. There were no dimensional creatures in the stone chamber. The two of them sized up the stone chamber, and as they looked, their expressions turned odd. The decorations in the stone chamber were very simple. There were almost no decorations. There was a hole in the ground, and on both sides of the hole were two stone slabs that were raised above the ground. From the shape of the hole, the metal artifact from before was likely embedded in the hole. Such a setup made the two of them have a very ominous association. Chapter 1714. Eldest senior brother, don't you think this layout looks like something? Zhou said as he stared at the pit in the ground. I don't think so. Lu Yun turned his face away and deliberately avoided looking at Zhou. Put that metal artifact into the pit. I think it looks more like. Before Zhou could finish his sentence, he was rudely interrupted by Lu Yun. Shut up. What do you mean it looks like? It doesn't look like anything. What's the point of saying so much nonsense? There's a door there. Let's see if it can be opened. As Lu Yun spoke, he walked towards the door without looking back as though he was fleeing for his life. There seemed to be a faint gagging sound. Zhou immediately understood that Lu Yun definitely had the same thoughts as him. No matter how I look at it, it looks like a toilet. Don't tell me the metal artifact is Kunlun Mountain's toilet? If the metal artifact is really a toilet, then wouldn't the so-called golden core that Lu Yun ate be? Zhou muttered inwardly. However, on second thought, I don't think so. How strong are those fellows in Kunlun Mountain to be able to poop that can advance someone to the calamity stage? The door here can be opened. There seems to be a garden behind it. Lu Yun had already pushed open the door a crack and peeked through the crack. Zhou hurriedly followed and peeked through the crack. Indeed, he saw a garden outside. All sorts of strange flowers and plants that he had never seen or heard of before were scattered in the garden. They looked like they grew naturally without any artificial care, but they had a strange beauty to them. It was as though they were supposed to be like this. The garden seemed to be huge, with no end in sight. Above him was the blue sky and white clouds. There were no other buildings outside. There seems to be a creature over there, Lu Yun whispered. Zhou also saw a huge white bird lying in a patch of flowers in the distance. Due to the flowers, he couldn't see its full appearance. He could only tell that its upper body resembled a peacock, but there were some differences. Could that be the phoenix you mentioned? Zhou asked Lu Yun softly. Are you stupid? Phoenixes live on divine trees. How can there be a phoenix in a grass nest? Besides, have you seen a white phoenix? Lu Yun rolled his eyes and said unhappily. That's true. The one in the grass nest is a pheasant. Zhou thought about it and realized that it made sense. Through the crack in the door, the two of them carefully looked around. Aside from the white pheasant, they didn't see any other creatures, nor did they see any other buildings. That's strange. There's only one pheasant here. Who's the squatting pit for? Could it be that wild bee *tch? Zhou mumbled. Do you believe that I'll fight you to the death if you say another word? Lu Yun felt like vomiting again, but he forcefully suppressed it. I'm just saying. Don't take it seriously. Maybe it's not a squatting pit at all, Zhou said with a smile. Lu Yun gritted his teeth and didn't say a word. He continued observing the commotion outside. After a while, he said, Should we go out and take a look? There seems to be only one pheasant in this garden. It shouldn't be too dangerous. That might not be the case. Zhou didn't think so. If the item inside the metal artifact was really created by the pheasant, Zhou felt that he and Lu Yun would be sending themselves to their death. Forget it. Let's go out. There's not much time left. Let's get the sword early, Lu Yun said gloomily. Just as the two of them were about to return, they suddenly heard a strange cry coming from the garden. Jie Jie. The white bird let out a strange cry that sounded like a duck. The sound was as unpleasant as it could be. After a few cries, the white bird stood up. Only then did Zhou and Lu Yun see its full appearance. Its head looked a little like a peacock, but its back body looked like a pheasant. It didn't have the long feathers of a peacock. Pooey, it's really a pheasant. Lu Yun cursed inwardly. If the item inside the metal artifact was really excreted by this pheasant, just the thought of it made his stomach churn. After the pheasant stood up, it slowly strolled in the garden. With a few steps, it would peck at the flowers. It was unknown what it was pecking at. When Zhou saw what the pheasant was doing, he felt a chill run down his spine. The pheasant was pecking at the grass fruits in the grass, but the grass fruits looked somewhat strange. The grass fruits were typically the size of a fist, and they looked like babies in the womb. With Zhou eyesight, he could see that the grass fruits had clear facial features. If it wasn't for the fact that they grew on the grass vines, he would have thought that they were babies that had been dissected. The pheasant swallowed a grass fruit in one mouthful. It was unknown what it tasted like. Don't tell me this is a ginseng fruit? That thing blooms every 3,000 years and bears fruit every 3,000 years. It takes another 3,000 years for it to mature and 10,000 years for it to grow. Lu Yun's eyes lit up. It was obvious that he was up to something again. Are you out of your mind? Ginseng fruits grow on ginseng fruit trees. This is clearly a grass fruit. Furthermore, the legendary ginseng fruit should be in the house of that earth-immortal ancestor. Why would it be on Kunlun Mountain? Zhou said unhappily. That's true. Lu Yun was immediately a little discouraged. As the two of them spoke, they suddenly heard the pheasant let out the unpleasant cry again. It even started running. Zhou hurriedly looked over and was slightly surprised by the scene he saw. He saw the pheasant running with all its might, chasing after a grass fruit. The grass fruit was much bigger than the average grass fruit. It was completely white and looked like a chubby baby. The pheasant chased behind, and the grass fruit baby ran in front, jumping up and down in the garden. The pheasant couldn't catch up to him. After watching for a moment, Lu Yun secretly exclaimed in his heart that it was a close shave. Thankfully, he hadn't really gone out. Otherwise, if he had really been targeted by the pheasant, it would have been a problem if he could have come out alive. The speed at which the pheasant chased after the grass fruit baby was so fast that even the two calamity grades couldn't see it clearly. Even if they could see it clearly, their body's reaction speed wouldn't be able to keep up. Let's leave quickly. Lu Yun felt that this place was too dangerous. It was best to leave as soon as possible. Let's watch a little longer. Zhou kept staring at the grass fruit baby. The grass fruit baby's speed was in no way slower than the pheasant's. Furthermore, he could use the soil, flowers, and other objects in the garden to use escape technique. From the looks of it, not only was he proficient in earth escape, but he could also use wood escape and water escape. This thing is a little like a ginseng baby companion beast, but it's of a higher level. Ginseng baby only knows earth escape, but this fellow has already displayed 3 escape techniques. Don't tell me it can use all the 5 elemental escape techniques? Zhou paid attention to the grass fruit baby. Chapter 17:15. Holy sh*t, these 2 things are awesome. Lu Yun's eyes were already crafty enough. He could almost see through a typical calamity grade battle. However, he could no longer see the pheasant and grass fruit baby's actions. All he could see were 2 beams of light jumping up and down in the garden. I'm afraid it's even more awesome than you imagine, Zhou added. His words came from the bottom of his heart. Zhou had already seen top calamity creatures. Even powerful existences like Truth Listener and Purple Star Lord couldn't do what the pheasant and grassfruit baby were doing. Zhou didn't know if the pheasant and grassfruit baby were creatures above the calamity level, but there was one thing he was certain of. In terms of speed, the pheasant and grassfruit baby were already above Truth Listener and Purple Star Lord. Of course, Zhou didn't have any speed measuring device. At their level, it was difficult to tell the difference in speed with the naked eye. However, there was a very obvious difference between Purple Star Lord and the pheasant. When Purple Star Lord and Truth Listener moved at such speeds, they would produce a terrifying shockwave. Just the shockwave alone could destroy everything under the calamity. However, the pheasant's speed was so fast. Ignoring the shockwave, there wasn't even the sound of an air explosion or breaking through the sound barrier. Even the flowers and plants beside it weren't damaged at all. It looked like it still had some strength left. Just this alone proved that it was extraordinary. Zhou vaguely felt that the pheasant might be a legendary apocalyptic existence, but it was only a guess. After all, he had never seen what an apocalyptic one looked like. Perhaps it was a top speed type calamity. Junior brother, what do you think that baby-like grass fruit is? Even such a powerful dimensional creature wants to eat it. What will happen if we eat it? Lu Yun couldn't help but whisper as he watched enviously. I advise you not to court death. Zhou was also envious, but he knew how terrifying the pheasant's speed was. Just this speed alone wasn't something they could match up to. If Zhou fused with Brahma, he could still fend it off. However, Lu Yun would definitely die instantly. It wouldn't even be considered instant death. I'm not stupid. I was just thinking about it. I'll go back and flip through the books to see what those fruits are. Even if I can't eat the big ones, aren't there many small fruits in the garden? Perhaps I can think of a way to get a few. Lu Yun was a thief. If he returned empty-handed after entering the treasure garden, it would be very uncomfortable for him. How? Do you dare to go out and pluck them? Zhou naturally wanted to get a few grass fruits, but with the pheasants outside, the risk was just too great. It's indeed a little dangerous for us to steal it ourselves. While the pheasant is distracted by the grass fruit doll, we can get a companion beast to steal it. I have a companion beast that's best at earth escape and invisibility. It shouldn't be difficult to get it to burrow under the grass fruit and pluck 2 grass fruits before returning. Lu Yun changed the topic and continued, however, just in case, I think we should cooperate. You should also get a few companion beasts. If my companion beast is discovered, I can go out in time to distract the pheasant's attention so that my companion beast can return safely. When the time comes, each of us will get a portion of the grass fruit. However, there's one thing you have to take note of. That pheasant's level is definitely not low. Typical companion beasts will probably find it difficult to attract its attention. It's best you take out some high-level companion beasts. Dream on. Using my high-level companion beasts as cannon fodder. Zhou curled his lips. If you have a companion beast that can invisibility and earth escape, you can steal the grass fruit. I can release a companion beast to block a bullet for you. You have to do something, right? You can't just sit there and wait for the benefits, right? Lu Yun said with a smile. I don't have such a companion beast, but I don't want to be cannon fodder. If you want to steal it, go ahead. I won't snatch it from you. Zhou really didn't plan on stealing it. After all, the dungeon was already being downloaded. When the dungeon was downloaded in the future, he could retrieve the grass fruit in-game. There was no need to take the risk. Alright, let's make it clear first. Don't be jealous of the grass fruit I bring back. Don't snatch it from me when the time comes. Lu Yun had previously wanted to pull Zhou along because he was afraid that Zhou would spoil his plans. Don't worry. Am I the kind of person who would do that? Zhou said. You are that kind of person, Lu Yun said without mercy. Alright, I promise I won't touch the grass fruit you stole. Is that fine? Zhou said as he spread out his hands. That's more like it. Lu Yun nodded in satisfaction before summoning his companion beast. Zhou originally wanted to take a closer look at what companion beast Lu Yun had summoned, but his phone suddenly rang. Is the dungeon over? Zhou was somewhat puzzled. The dungeon's download time was much faster than he had imagined. According to past experience, the higher the level of the dungeon, the slower the download time. It had only been a short while, but the dungeon had already been downloaded. Didn't that mean that this dungeon wasn't very high level? However, when he thought about it again, he felt that something was amiss. From the metal equipment and crystal to the pheasant and grassfruit doll, none of these items could appear in a low-level instance dungeon. This instance dungeon was undoubtedly a high-level instance dungeon. If this is really a high-level dungeon, there's only one possibility left. After charging the phone, the download speed increased? Zhou guessed as he took out his phone to take a look. Indeed, there was an additional icon on the phone's home screen. It was the symbol of Shiqing Mountain. It's really Kunlun Mountain. Zhou was pleasantly surprised when he saw the name below the icon. Kunlun Mountain's status in the mythical realm was just too high. It was likely that there weren't many dimensional zones on Earth that were higher than Kunlun Mountain. If one had the strength to clear the Kunlun Mountain dungeon, they would be able to dominate all the dimensional zones on Earth. More importantly, a dimensional zone like Kunlun Mountain might be a test for Earth's companion beasts to choose their owners. After clearing it, there might be Earth's companion beasts that could be obtained. Of course, if he really discovered that Kunlun Mountain was a test for Earth's companion beasts, Zhou could also take precautions in reality to prevent others from clearing the dungeon. It was to prevent Earth's companion beasts from appearing and blowing up Earth. Let me see what's the difference between Kunlun Mountain's normal and hidden modes. Zhou already had some guesses, but he still needed to confirm them. After opening the Kunlun Mountain dungeon, Zhou first chose normal mode. After entering, he realized that the blood-colored avatar was standing in front of Kunlun Mountain's north gate. It circled Kunlun Mountain but didn't discover anything special. Then, he switched to hidden mode and entered the Kunlun Mountain dungeon again. Soon, he discovered something, but this time, he discovered more. In the past, the hidden modes of the dungeons only had one spot with a hidden light notification. However, the Kunlun Mountain dungeon had 5 spots with hidden light notifications. From the looks of it, they were the 5 hidden doors of Kunlun Mountain. Chapter 1716. Out of the 5 spots with hidden light, 2 of them were this cave and the pool that Lu Yun had taken Zhou to. Zhou chose to open the cave in-game. Just as he was about to enter, Lu Yun had already released his companion beast and lurked towards Chaoguo. It was a companion beast that looked like a rat, but it was slightly larger than a cat. After it was summoned, its body trembled and it vanished in front of Zhou. It was unknown what kind of invisibility it had used, but even his hearing couldn't detect its existence. Lu Yun actually has such a companion beast? Zhou was alarmed. Just as he was about to use other methods to see if he could spy on it, the companion beast had already crawled out of the stone chamber and headed for Chaoguo. Although Zhou couldn't see it, he could vaguely sense where the companion beast was. After switching a few primordial energy arts and using Brahma's powers, he saw its true body. Its invisibility ability was useless under Brahma's Buddha eyes. The companion beast was also proficient in earth escape. After entering the garden, it vanished the moment it landed. When it appeared again, it was already beside a Chaoguo. It extended its claws and was about to pluck the Chaoguo when he suddenly saw a white light flash. Before Lu Yun could retract the companion beast vanished. The pheasant's figure appeared there. It raised its neck as though it had swallowed something. My shadow mouse! Lu Yun's expression changed drastically. The other companion beasts he had prepared didn't have the time to attract the pheasant's attention. Zhouwen didn't dare continue gaming. He kept observing the pheasant's reaction. As long as the pheasant made any movements, he would immediately escape. Thankfully, the pheasant didn't seem to notice the stone chamber. After swallowing Lu Yun's shadow mouse, it immediately chased after the Chaogua baby. Eldest senior brother, my condolences, Zhouwen consoled. My ass. That's a unique shadow mouse. It wasn't easy for me to feed it to the calamity grade. Do you know how much effort I spent on it? Lu Yun was so depressed that he even cursed. It's all fate. Let's leave quickly. Zhouwen didn't wish to waste any more time here. Since he had already downloaded the game, there was no point in staying any longer. Although Lu Yun was still somewhat indignant, he knew that there was nothing he could do. Just as he was about to leave with Zhouwen, he suddenly saw a flash of light. The grass fruit doll had entered the stone chamber and stood between Zhouwen and Lu Yun. Its large eyes, which didn't match its face, were rolling back and forth as it sized up Zhouwen and Lu Yun. Holy sh**t. Zhouwen and Lu Yun felt a chill run down their spines. They immediately had the thought of escaping. But that thought only existed in his mind. Before he could realize it, he saw a white figure standing there. It was the white pheasant. It's over. Both of their hearts were cold. However, none of them were the kind of people who would sit still and wait for death. Almost without thinking, they instinctively made the most intuitive response. Lu Yun teleported to the garden outside the stone room. There was a pheasant standing at the hole at the exit. Teleporting there was almost equivalent to courting death. There might be a chance of survival if they rushed into the garden. Almost at the same time, Zhouwen made the same reaction. However, while Zhouwen teleported, he had already fused with Great Brahma. When he teleported, he was already wearing dark golden armor. The dark golden wheel behind him emitted a dark light like a black hole. Bam! The two of them who teleported at the same time slammed into a stone wall and bounced back. Lu Yun sat on the ground. Zhouwen could barely stand, but he felt his head buzz from the impact. He felt like he had a concussion. The pheasant and the grass fruit doll remained standing in their spots, looking at the two of them from the left and right. I told you to get the sword earlier, but you insisted on turning around. Now you've caused trouble, haven't you? My life is in your hands, Lu Yun said with a sullen expression. He knew that he couldn't escape, so he didn't even bother getting up. All he did was sit on the ground and look at the two creatures. Zhouwen didn't move again. He had already activated his teacher domain and was scanning the situation in the stone chamber. He wanted to know what force had trapped them in the stone chamber. Strangely, there were no traces of the pheasant and grass fruit doll's nomological powers in the stone chamber. Clearly, the force that prevented them from teleporting out of the stone chamber didn't come from the two strange creatures. Is it the stone chamber's power that prevents us from leaving? Zhouwen thought to himself. Zhouwen and Lu Yun didn't move. The pheasant and grass fruit doll didn't take the initiative to attack. All they did was size them up as though they were curious about them. I didn't let you in, Zhouwen said casually, but his eyes were tilted to the half-open door of the stone chamber. Teleportation couldn't leave the room, but it didn't mean that he couldn't leave. Perhaps this stone chamber only restricted teleportation. If he walked out through the door, he wouldn't be restricted. However, Zhouwen knew very well that with his speed, it was impossible for him to be faster than the pheasant and grass fruit doll. They hadn't made any aggressive moves yet. If he rashly rushed out, he might immediately infuriate them. In any case, nothing good happens when I'm with you. My life will be ruined by you sooner or later. Lu Yun also realized the subtle situation he was in. He only sat there and spoke without any intention of rushing out. The pheasant's silver eyes sized up the two of them, but after a while, it seemed to lose interest in them. It then focused its gaze on grass fruit doll. From the looks of it, this fellow isn't interested in eating meat. Zhouwen was immediately delighted. Indeed, the pheasant raised its claws and walked to the side as though it wanted to circle around Zhou Wen and Lu Yun to continue grabbing grass fruit doll. Lu Yun was also ecstatic. At that moment, he didn't dare say anything else to prevent agitating the pheasant. As long as the pheasant charged at grass fruit doll, the two of them would have a chance to enter the pit and leave this terrifying place. Zhou Wen was calculating how far away the pheasant was from the pit before he could successfully rush in, but to his surprise, just as the pheasant took 2 steps, grass fruit doll moved as well. The figure of Chao Guodal flashed and disappeared from their line of sight. "Junior brother, your head." Lu Yun widened his eyes as he looked at Zhou Wen's head as though he had seen a ghost. If it wasn't for the great Brahma armor covering Zhou Wen's face, no one would be able to see his face. They would definitely realize that his expression was even uglier than Lu Yun's. This was because the grass fruit doll had jumped onto Zhou Wen's head and sat on the dark golden helmet. Its fair feet hung above Zhou Wen's forehead as it swayed back and forth. He still couldn't calm down. There were still 2 chapters to update during the day. End of this chapter. Chapter 17:17. Junior brother, it's not that I don't want to help you, but you are just too unlucky. You have to accept your fate. In the future, I'll burn more paper money for you on this day every year. I'll definitely burn 3 incense sticks every year, Lu Yun said as he retreated. The pheasant's eyes stared intently at Zhou Wen's head. It carefully raised its claws and approached Zhou Wen like a ferocious bird that was about to attack at any moment. Lu Yun had seen the pheasant's speed. The grass fruit baby might be able to dodge its beak, but Zhou Wen probably wouldn't be able to. He might be instantly pierced through by the beak. No matter how strong his recovery was, he probably wouldn't be able to survive. Zhou Wen stared at the pheasant motionlessly, but his mind was racing. If Zhou Wen reached out to chase the grass fruit baby away, he might attract the pheasant to immediately attack. However, if Zhou Wen didn't do anything, the pheasant's aura would definitely reach its peak. Its attack would definitely be unbelievably fast. When that happened, it would probably be even more difficult to deal with. Moving was wrong, but not moving was also wrong. Instantly, Zhou Wen was in a dilemma. If he were an ordinary person, the first choice would definitely be to shake off the grass fruit baby on his head, but Zhou Wen didn't do so. The grass fruit baby clearly wants to use me as a shield. Unfortunately, I'm not someone you can do whatever you want. There's a price to pay for using me. With a thought, Zhou Wen circulated the first order of chaos. The chaos egg instantly enveloped his body, including the grass fruit baby above his head. Typically, the chaos egg could only protect Zhou Wen himself, but if he was too close, things like clothes could also be enveloped. Zhou Wen watched from the side for a long time. He could tell that although the grass fruit baby's escape technique was unique, its offensive strength was probably inferior to the pheasant's. By enveloping it in the chaos egg and with great Brahma protecting him, he didn't have to worry that the grass fruit baby could harm him inside. When the grass fruit baby realized that it was trapped by the chaos egg, it wasn't worried in the beginning. It even sized up the chaos egg curiously. When the pheasant saw the chaos egg, it was also somewhat curious. It didn't immediately attack. After observing for a moment, it exerted strength with its claws and appeared in front of the chaos egg like a ghost. It then bit down at the chaos egg's beak. The chaos egg's defense was nearly invincible. Even the Heaven Realm Purple Star Sovereign was unable to break through the chaos egg's defense. It was only because she was too powerful that the chaos egg produced too many primordial energy crystals, causing it to explode. Although the pheasant's strike was terrifying and could penetrate all indestructible objects, it failed to penetrate the chaos egg. The chaos egg's outer shell sank in like a balloon that had been compressed and deformed. However, it did not rupture in the end and forcefully blocked the pheasant's beak. Inside the chaos egg, a large number of essence energy crystals appeared out of thin air. The speed was in no way inferior to Purple Star Lord's attack. However, this attack nearly filled the Chaos Egg with essence energy crystals. There was almost no space left. Chao Guodal was startled, and his figure flickered as he tried to use an escape technique to escape. However, when its head struck the Chaos Egg, it failed to escape. It rebounded and landed on Zhou Wen's head again. Zhou Wen felt a lot more at ease. Although the pheasant's offensive strength was powerful, it was still within the calamity grade. It didn't have any crushing destructive power. As long as it's not at the apocalyptic stage, my great Brahma might still be able to put up a fight. Zhou Wen secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Chao Guodal was somewhat anxious. Tried a few more times, but it failed to rush out of the Chaos Egg. Just as Zhou Wen had expected, although its escape technique was very special, it was difficult to achieve it in an independent space. Instead of leaving heaven, you chose to seek refuge in hell. You asked for it. Don't blame me. With a thought, the Chaos Egg flew into the garden. At the same time, he used Imperial Lord Behemoth to devour the large number of essence energy crystals produced in the Chaos Egg. The flustered Chao Guodal suddenly stopped moving. Its eyes stared at the essence energy crystals as though it had discovered a new continent. No way. Zhou Wen realized something. Before he could do anything, Chao Guodal opened its mouth and sucked many of the nearby essence energy crystals into its mouth. Its tiny mouth didn't look big, but the speed at which it devoured the essence energy crystals was even faster than Imperial Lord Behemoth. In a moment, more than half of the essence energy crystals were sucked into its stomach. Its tiny body was like a bottomless pit. Large numbers of essence energy crystals were sucked in, but its stomach didn't react at all. It didn't even swell a little. The pheasant outside seemed a little surprised that its attack failed. When it saw the Chaos Egg fly towards the garden, it beaked again. Although the Chaos Egg wasn't slow, it was still much slower than the pheasant. It was easily beaked. The Chaos Egg produced a large number of essence energy crystals again. According to Zhou Wen's original calculations, even with Imperial Lord Behemoth devouring the essence energy crystals, the Chaos Egg would only be able to withstand 4 or 5 strikes before exploding from the essence energy crystals. However, now that Chao Guodal had sucked away a large number of essence energy crystals, there weren't many essence energy crystals left after the pheasant pecked the Chaos Egg a few times. Most of them had been sucked away by Chao Guodal. This guy really is an egg emperor. However, this thing's defense is stronger than I imagined. It can actually withstand this level of attack. Lu Yun was shocked. He wasn't surprised by Zhou Wen or the Egg Sovereign, but by the Chaos Egg's defense. Lu Yun didn't know what was amiss. He imagined that the Chaos Egg could really fight the pheasant, but Zhou Wen couldn't help but frown slightly. Although he was temporarily safe and the Chaos Egg wouldn't explode anytime soon, Chao Guodal's body gradually produced some strange changes as it absorbed the essence energy crystals. Chao Guodal's body was snow-white and crystalline, like a snow-white lotus root. At that moment, a strange red glow gradually suffused its snow-white body. The red light resembled a sunset or smoke as it emitted from its snow-white body. It made Chao Guodal look a little livelier, like a pale patient with a ruddy complexion. As a large number of essence energy crystals were sucked away, the red light became stronger and stronger. The pheasant attacked a few times, but it failed to crack the Chaos Egg. As though it was annoyed, it used all its strength. Its head was like a sewing machine as it kept tapping its beak on the Chaos Egg. The essence energy crystals in the Chaos Egg instantly expanded. Zhou Wen was originally worried that they would explode, but he never expected Chao Guodal's absorption speed to accelerate. The essence energy crystals that had just been produced were almost instantly sucked into its stomach. Chapter 17-18. Zhou Wen didn't know if he should be happy or worried. Due to the existence of the grass fruit doll, he temporarily didn't have to worry about the Chaos Egg exploding. However, it was also because of the grass fruit doll's existence that Zhou Wen was somewhat worried. This thing had absorbed so many essence energy crystals, and its body was turning redder and redder. Now it was like a red-hot soldering iron. Who knew what other tricks it could come up with? Although the grass fruit doll didn't have much offensive strength, it didn't display any powerful offensive means after being trapped by Zhou. It seemed to only have a slightly powerful escape technique. However, things in the world were sometimes hard to say. Water was considered a relatively soft substance, so it was typically difficult for it to harm the human body. However, ignoring the river breaching its banks and tsunamis, just increasing the water pressure to a certain level would allow the water to cut through rock and steel. If the grass fruit doll underwent any abnormal changes after absorbing a large number of essence energy crystals, it might become an existence even more lethal than the pheasant. Although he realized that a problem might arise, he didn't have a good solution. If he unsummoned the Chaos Egg now, Zhou would have to face the pheasant's frenzied attacks. The attack power that the pheasant displayed was definitely not weaker than Truth Listener's. Of course, Truth Listener's strength didn't completely lie in its offensive power. However, to be able to match Truth Listener in terms of offensive power was already a headache for Zhou. If it wasn't for the fact that Truth Listener can't be summoned, I wouldn't have ended up in such a situation. Zhou steeled his heart and forcefully charged towards the stone chamber's door. As Zhou expected, although the stone chamber prohibited spatial powers, it didn't prohibit entry and exit from the door. The Chaos Egg immediately squeezed out of the stone chamber's door and rolled into the garden. The pheasant rushed out as well, continuing to peck at the Chaos Egg crazily. The grass fruit doll's body was already as red as crystal. The red light inside was somewhat blinding. Thankfully, its body didn't have any temperature, so it didn't cause any substantial damage to Zhou. Zhou attempted to use his teleportation ability in the garden and realized that he wasn't restricted again. However, when he teleported out, the pheasant had already appeared beside him and continued pecking. Being able to use spatial teleportation made Zhou feel much more at ease. Previously, after the sky-stealing sun-shifting art advanced to the Calamity Realm, his teleportation ability had been greatly enhanced. Although he still couldn't continuously teleport without any gaps, it wasn't something the average person could compare with. Seeing that Strawberry Doll's body seemed to be undergoing a tremendous change, Zhou knew that he couldn't wait any longer. Once Strawberry Doll really underwent a qualitative change, his situation might become even worse. Stealing his heart, Zhou put away the Chaos Egg. He and Xiao Guo were exposed in front of the pheasant. Almost at the same time, Zhou used Universe Reversal to quickly teleport to escape the pheasant's attack. Anyway, the wild chicken's original target was the grass fruit doll. Even if it was accidentally injured at the beginning, as long as it withstood the first attack, the wild chicken would probably go after the grass fruit doll. Zhou plan was very good, but when he teleported out, he realized that the grass fruit doll had appeared behind him like a shadow and was lying on his shoulder. The pheasant pecked down at the same time, so fast that he couldn't even teleport away in time. If a tiger doesn't show its might, do you think I'm Holly Kitty? The great Brahma armor on Zhou body shimmered as he punched out. Previously, Zhou hadn't been willing to fight the pheasant head-on. Firstly, he was worried that the pheasant's combat strength was too strong. Secondly, he was afraid that the battle would cause too much of a commotion and attract other terrifying creatures. This was Kunlun Mountain, an unimaginably terrifying place in legends. Legend had it that great immortals gathered here. Who knew how many terrifying creatures like pheasants existed here? But now, he couldn't care less. It was more important to save his life. Bam! Zhou originally imagined that his full-powered strike would destroy a large area of the garden. However, to his surprise, after his fist collided with the pheasant's beak, there was only a dull thud. The expected explosion and shockwave didn't appear. There's something wrong with this garden. Zhou immediately realized the problem. When the pheasant and Chaogul were chasing each other, there weren't any explosions or shockwaves. From the looks of it, it wasn't because they could control their strength, but because there was a certain force in the garden that suppressed the spread of the energy fluctuations. The power of a heaven realm great Brahma had destructive power that could destroy almost everything, but it didn't gain any advantage against the pheasant's strength. Thankfully, Zhou Wen didn't suffer. The pheasant was sent retreating by Zhou Wen's punch. Zhou Wen's legs went limp as he nearly knelt to the ground. This didn't mean that great Brahma's strength was inferior to the pheasant's, but because Zhou Wen's physique was too poor. His terregrade body was still too weak in such a battle. Just the remnant force that entered the great Brahma armor was enough for his body to withstand it. Holy sh*t, junior brother, what's this armor of yours? Why is it so powerful? Lu Yun, who was secretly watching from the stone chamber, saw Zhou Wen send the pheasant retreating a few steps with a single punch. It nearly stumbled and fell as his eyes turned red with jealousy. The pheasant's ferocity was also stimulated by Zhou Wen's punch. It flapped its wings and charged forward with a strange squawk. It circled around Zhou Wen like a beam of light and constantly attacked. Lu Yun couldn't see the pheasant's actions at all. Although Zhou Wen could see the pheasant's actions clearly with Great Brahma's augmentation, Great Brahma wasn't good at speed. What he could see, he couldn't keep up with it. He brandished his fists to block a few pecks, but no matter what, he couldn't dodge or block the next peck. Just as Zhou Wen was about to use his body to withstand the pheasant's peck, he suddenly felt his vision blur. His body had inexplicably appeared elsewhere in the garden. Grass fruit baby. Zhou Wen immediately realized what had happened. Grass fruit baby, who was lying on him, must have used an escape technique to bring him away from the pheasant's peck. How could the pheasant give up? It charged over almost at the same time and engaged in an intense battle with Zhou Wen again. Great Brahma's destructive power was completely unafraid of the pheasant's powerful strength, but its speed was inferior. However, every time Zhou Wen was in danger, Grass Fruit Baby would take the initiative to use an escape technique to help him dodge the attack. It was difficult to determine the victor. How did Junior Brother cultivate? He's actually reached such a level with a pure human body. Lu Yun was dumbfounded as he watched. He was so envious that he drooled. However, Zhou Wen wasn't very happy because what he was worried about seemed to have happened. In the depths of the garden, a terrifying aura came from afar. Chapter 17-19. Half the sky in the garden was dyed golden. It was an extremely huge golden bird. It looked like an eagle, but not an eagle. When it spread its golden wings, it seemed to cover half the sky. Holy sh*t, could it be a golden-winged rock? Zhou Wen remembered that he had seen a creature that resembled a rock in the past, but it wasn't this huge or had such a terrifying aura. Zhou Wen couldn't be sure if it was a golden-winged rock, but one thing was certain. The golden-winged bird was at least at the heaven realm. It might even be at the legendary apocalypse stage. I can't stay in this godforsaken place any longer. As Zhou Wen fought the pheasant, he rushed towards the stone chamber. After fighting in the garden for so long, he failed to find any way out. The sky above the garden looked like it had a blue sky and white clouds. His spatial powers weren't restricted, but when Zhou Wen wanted to use interstellar teleportation to leave, he realized that he couldn't contact the stars outside. The garden seemed to have no end. No matter which direction he scanned, he could only see an endless garden. The pheasant was smarter than Zhou Wen imagined. It clearly saw through Zhou Wen's intentions and stopped fighting him. Instead, it blocked the stone chamber's entrance and blocked his only way out. The stone chamber had a spatial restriction, so he could only force his way in. Zhou Wen gritted his teeth as the great Brahma armor on his body swirled with a dark light, erupting with unparalleled destructive power. Accompanied by Zhou Wen's fist, he slammed it at the pheasant blocking the door. Although great Brahma's speed was inferior to the pheasant's, Its destructive power wasn't inferior to the pheasant's. Zhouwen wanted to forcefully blast the pheasant away and rush into the stone chamber to escape. The pheasant was very stubborn. Despite knowing that its strength was inferior to Zhouwen's, it refused to dodge. It even wanted to forcefully stop Zhouwen. Just as Zhouwen was secretly delighted that his fist was about to strike the pheasant, a golden light suddenly rose in front of him. The resplendent golden-winged bird appeared behind the pheasant. A pair of golden sculpture-like wings bent downwards to protect the pheasant's body. Boom! The destructive power struck the golden wings, but not a single feather was damaged. The golden-winged bird's body seemed to be stronger than the pheasant's. After hitting the young, the old comes. Junior brother, take care. I'll be leaving first. Lu Yun shouted before burrowing into the hole in a flash and slipping away without looking back. Zhouwen lamented inwardly. From the looks of it, the white pheasant was most likely the golden-winged bird's fledgling. If a fledgling was already so terrifying, there was no need to mention the golden-winged bird. Just its speed and defense made Zhouwen lose the desire to fight. The golden-winged bird was clearly infuriated by Zhouwen's punch. It raised its head and let out a bird cry. The golden light on its body trembled as it spread its wings that blotted out the sky. It was about to flap at Zhouwen with a terrifying aura. Zhouwen was already prepared to fight with all his might. The black hole-like wheel of light behind the great Brahma armor spun as though it was connected to hell. Just as the battle was about to break out, he suddenly heard an ear-piercing and unpleasant cry. When the golden-winged bird heard the cry, it suddenly stopped flapping its wings and slowly retreated. What does it want? Zhouwen frowned as he looked at the pheasant and the golden-winged bird on its back. The pheasant was still calling out strangely at the golden-winged bird. The golden-winged bird took a few steps back and suddenly did something that nearly made Zhouwen's eyeballs pop out. It actually bowed its head in front of the pheasant. From the looks of it, it was extremely reverent towards the pheasant. It didn't look like a mother treating her child, but like a subject bowing to a monarch. The pheasant was still angrily shouting at the golden-winged bird that was bowing its head in front of it. Its arrogant manner made it look like a slave owner was insulting its slave. The golden-winged bird lay there motionless. No matter how the pheasant cursed it, it remained indifferent, as though it was only right for the pheasant to treat it this way. Heavens! What's going on? The golden-winged bird is very similar to the legendary golden-winged roc. Even if it's not a golden-winged roc, it's at least a heaven realm existence. In terms of combat strength, it's above the pheasant. Why is it so respectful to the pheasant? Zhouwen was dumbfounded. The pheasant seemed to have enough cursing. Then, it turned to look at Zhouwen. In the next second, it pounced over, looking like it wanted to skin Zhouwen alive. Zhouwen had no choice but to fight the pheasant again. To its dismay, the golden-winged roc blocked the stone chamber's door, preventing Zhouwen from having a chance to rush in again. What the hell is this pheasant? Zhouwen was puzzled. The pheasant's combat strength was clearly inferior to the golden-winged bird, but the golden-winged bird was so respectful of it. Apart from its natural bloodline and racial advantage, Zhouwen really couldn't think of why the golden-winged bird would fear the pheasant. Could it be that this pheasant is a real phoenix? Zhouwen couldn't help but suspect. In some myths, it was said that the phoenix had once given birth to Wisdom King Peacock and the golden-winged roc. If that golden-winged bird was really a roc, then the only thing that could make the golden-winged roc bow its head in terms of bloodline and race was probably the phoenix. Even Wisdom King Peacock couldn't do it. However, no matter how he looked at it, the white bird in front of him looked like a pheasant, not the legendary supreme god of birds, the phoenix. On second thought, Zhouwen realized that it wasn't impossible to accept it. The chick he raised was also a phoenix species. Ignoring the fact that it didn't look like one when it was young, it didn't look like one now. They were both phoenix species, but the chick's level was clearly not as high as the pheasant's. This made Zhouwen suspect that the chick's phoenix bloodline wasn't pure. Could it be that a real phoenix species actually looks like a pheasant? Zhou thought to himself. The pheasant constantly attacked Zhou. From the looks of it, it was determined to kill Zhou personally before giving up. After the golden-winged bird was reprimanded by the pheasant, although it had no intention of attacking Zhou again, it kept staring at him covetously. From the looks of it, as long as the pheasant suffered any damage, it would immediately rush over and tear Zhou to pieces. From the looks of it, it's time to use the true power of Great Brahma. Regardless of whether you are a real phoenix species or not, I'll kill you first. Don't say that I didn't give you a chance. You were the one who wanted to die. The small perfection of Wisdom Sutra in Zhou Wen's body circulated crazily as the great Brahma armor on his body became more mysterious and unfathomable. The black hole halo behind him didn't change in size, but it seemed to devour everything nearby. All living beings are equal. Zhou Wen stood in the garden like a Buddha. Facing the pheasants pecking, he slowly closed his eyes and let out strange syllables that sounded like Buddha's voice in the sky. Chapter 1720. The pheasant was used to being lawless in Kunlun Mountain. It didn't care as it pecked down. Zhou Wen's eyes remained closed, but he seemed to have already predicted the pheasant's attack trajectory. He raised his palm slightly and extended a finger, blocking the pheasant's beak. The moment the two made contact, the wheel of light behind Zhou Wen was like a real black hole that instantly devoured everything. The man and pheasant didn't seem to change at all, but the surrounding environment had become extremely strange. The garden that was just inches away vanished. The grass, flowers, and trees vanished. The golden-winged bird that had been eyeing him covetously had also vanished. It was as though only Zhou Wen and the pheasant were left in the world. There was only darkness around them. The pheasant was slightly taken aback as it sized up its surroundings, seemingly puzzled. All living beings are equal. They only have one life. Zhou Wen's eyes remained closed as he walked towards the pheasant. The true power of the Nirvana domain was naturally not as simple as destructive power. This was where the true power of the Nirvana domain lay. In the Nirvana domain, all power and life were isolated. Only living beings that had been pulled into the Nirvana domain by Zhou Wen could touch Zhou Wen's body. Any living being outside the Nirvana domain, even as powerful as the golden-winged bird, could only see an illusory phantom. They were unable to touch anything inside the Nirvana domain. Unless the living being locked onto by the Great Brahma domain died or the Great Brahma domain was destroyed, no external force could affect Zhou Wen, who was inside the Great Brahma domain. The golden-winged bird noticed something amiss and let out an angry cry. Its wings slashed at Zhou Wen with terrifying golden light. However, the golden light that could slice through everything seemed to slash at an illusion. No matter how many times it slashed at Zhou Wen's body, it failed to injure him at all. The two seemed to be in two completely different spaces. The pheasant remained as domineering as ever as it transformed into a white beam and charged at Zhou Wen. Zhou Wen's heart was already filled with killing intent, but his face didn't show it. He was as calm as a Buddha. With a slight movement of his body, he dodged the pheasant's peck and punched at its abdomen. The pheasant flapped its wings and instantly soared into the air, dodging Zhou Wen's fist. At the same time, a pair of hook-like claws grabbed at Zhou Wen's eyes in a split second. Only one face and a pair of arms were left under Brahma's armor, but this did not mean that his other abilities had disappeared. It was just that this face had fused with his other abilities. Faced with the pheasant's claws, Zhou Wen's speed was too slow to dodge or block. He had no intention of dodging or blocking either. He forcefully used his visor to block the pheasant's unstoppable claws. Bang! The indestructible chicken claw struck the dark golden armor, but it failed to penetrate it. It didn't even make Zhou Wen take a step back. Instead, the chicken let out a tragic cry as though it had suffered a heavy blow and was sent flying. Lord Brahma also had the ability to reflect damage. After the four sides combined, this ability became even stronger. Looking at the pheasant that was sent flying, Zhou Wen's figure tore through the void and instantly appeared in front of the pheasant. He threw punch after punch, bombarding the pheasant's body like a storm. Bang! Bang! The pheasant suffered a series of attacks as its body staggered and distorted in midair. It had to be said that the pheasant's body was extremely powerful. Ordinary calamity-grade beings would have long been shattered by such a destructive force. However, the pheasant only let out a tragic cry as its feathers were constantly sent flying. However, it didn't suffer any fatal blows, nor did it lose its combat strength. In fact, in the gaps between Zhou Wen's attacks, it even extended its claws and beak to counterattack. However, when its attacks landed on Zhou Wen, it was the one injured. Seeing Zhou Wen crazily attack the pheasant, causing its feathers to fly everywhere, the golden-winged bird outside let out an angry cry. The golden light on its body surged like a volcanic eruption as it slashed at Zhou Wen's figure again and again. However, such a terrifying attack was completely useless. It could clearly see Zhou Wen, but all its strength passed through Zhou Wen's body. It couldn't touch his body at all, as though it was just a mirage. No matter how destructive the golden-winged bird's strength was, it was useless against Zhou Wen, who was inside the great Brahma domain. All he could do was worry helplessly outside. It doesn't matter if you are a phoenix or a pheasant. Even if you are the sun of the universe, you are only a living being. You only have one life. Fight with your life. This battle is only between you and me. Zhou Wen punched the pheasant again and again. Every strike wasn't fatal, but it caused the pheasant to cry out repeatedly. The feathers on its body were constantly torn apart. The pheasant's body was originally covered in white feathers, but many parts of its body had already revealed golden skin. The skin was crystalline like a golden crystal, as though there was a seven-colored light flowing within it. After suffering such a ferocious blow, although the pheasant cried out repeatedly, its ferocity was stimulated. The seven-colored light in its body became more and more intense. What was even more terrifying was that the pheasant originally only knew simple attacks like pecking and clawing. It was far inferior to Zhou Wen's techniques, but as time passed, the pheasant's techniques became more and more varied. In fact, no technique that Zhou Wen had used before could injure the pheasant a second time. If it were any other calamity, they would probably be at their wits' end. It would be difficult for them to injure the pheasant at all. However, no matter how many combat techniques Zhou Wen had, it was as though there was no end to them. Although it looked like a simple punch, it contained endless variations, making it difficult for the pheasant to predict his attack trajectory. In terms of strength, Zhou Wen might not be the strongest on Earth, but in terms of combat realm and techniques, if Zhou Wen said that he was second, no one on Earth would dare say that they were first. Ignoring the infinite variations of the 3,000 sword intents, just the small perfection of wisdom's formless realm was enough to make Zhou Wenhua magical. It was as though simple moves had become unpredictable and unpredictable in Zhou Wenhua's hands. The pheasant was constantly bombarded, and the sky was filled with broken feathers. Screech! Just as it was about to turn into a bald pheasant, the pheasant suddenly let out a strange cry. The seven-colored light in its body burst out, and its entire body was enveloped in strange colors. Its body that was about to turn bald instantly transformed into seven-colored feathers that covered its body again. Not only that, but its body also underwent an inexplicable change. The feathers on its head grew longer, and the tail feathers on its back grew longer as they danced like immortal clouds. The seven-colored feathers on its body spread out in the wind. After it spread its wings, a seven-colored glass-like brilliance rose and danced, lingering around its body like an immortal cloud. At this moment, the pheasant no longer looked like a pheasant. It was clearly a seven-colored phoenix surrounded by immortal aura. Chapter 1721. You call this a phoenix? Why doesn't it look as authentic as a bird? Zhouwen saw that the seven-colored phoenix was extremely beautiful, but because it was too beautiful, it lacked some domineering aura. In Zhouwen's impression, phoenixes were supposed to be covered in golden flames, domineering and noble. Although such a dazzling and colorful creature did resemble a phoenix, it still left Zhouwen somewhat doubtful. After being bullied for so long, the pheasant was already extremely furious. At that moment, it transformed into a seven-colored phoenix and spat out rainbow-like flames. Zhouwen condensed the power of Great Brahma and punched at the seven-colored flames. The power of Great Brahma rarely met its nemesis. Its destructive power was extremely powerful, but when the power of Great Brahma encountered the seven-colored flames, it lost its destructive power and was forcefully disintegrated by the seven-colored flames. What flame is this? It can actually restrain the power of Great Brahma. Zhouwen was alarmed as he hurriedly teleported to dodge the seven-colored flames. Junior brother. Zhouwen was fighting the seven-colored phoenix when he suddenly heard Lu Yun's voice ring in his ear. Didn't you run away? Why are you back? Zhouwen heard the voice, but he didn't see Lu Yun. He didn't know where he was hiding, nor did he have the time to find him. What do you mean I ran away? I went to get reinforcements for you, Lu Yun said. Where are the reinforcements you got? Zhouwen asked as he fought. I haven't found any reinforcements yet. Be careful. I think the bird you are fighting is most likely a phoenix. Lu Yun paused for a moment before continuing. Don't think that phoenixes only spew fire. In ancient myths and legends, phoenixes are actually extremely terrifying existences. This phoenix is probably the kind of phoenix in ancient myths and legends. It has terrifying might. Zhouwen didn't have the time to speak to him. The power of Great Brahma was restrained, and his speed was inferior to the phoenix's. He could only rely on his skills to fight the seven-colored phoenix, but he was already at a disadvantage. Have you heard of the legend of phoenixes giving birth to Rock and Peacock? Lu Yun continued, sending a voice transmission. Cut the crap. Tell me something useful. Zhouwen really wasn't in the mood to listen to his story. With Brahma's powers restrained, it was very difficult for him to fight. From what I can see, your power seems to be somewhat similar to the Buddhist lineage. Back then, Mahamayuri was able to devour Buddha. From this, it can be seen that the peacock's power has a restraining effect on the Buddhist lineage. As for the phoenix, it is the peacock's ancestor. Its power restrains you. You can try fighting it with a different power. Perhaps it will be better, Lu Yun said. Zhouwen was somewhat depressed. He naturally knew that he wouldn't be restrained if he switched to another power, but he needed to switch. The only power at the heaven realm was Brahma. Powers below the heaven realm couldn't even touch the phoenix. Truth Listener hadn't completed its mutation, so it couldn't be summoned. Can't you say something useful? Zhouwen failed to dodge in time as the seven-colored flames were about to burn him. His vision blurred as he realized that he had been teleported far away, dodging the seven-colored phoenix's attack. Only then did Zhouwen recall that the grass fruit baby was still lying on his shoulder. It was the one who had escaped with Zhouwen, allowing him to dodge the seven-colored flames. All right, I'll forgive you for being uncultured. Have you heard of a legendary peacock that can use 5-colored divine light? I reckon that the 7-colored flames of this phoenix are even more terrifying than the 5-colored divine light. It's best you don't touch it, Lu Yun said. Zhouwen didn't wish to be touched by the 7-colored flames either. Even the power of Brahma could disintegrate it. Being touched by it might mean death. Thankfully, the grass fruit baby was very impressive. As long as Zhouwen was in danger, the fellow would use an escape technique to escape with Zhouwen. He was very obedient. I can't care so much. I'll let it off easy. Zhouwen knew that this couldn't continue. The 7-colored phoenix's speed was much faster than his, and Brahma was restrained by the 7-colored flames. Now, he could only think of other solutions. At the same time, he circulated Brahma and the Chaos Egg. Just as the Chaos Egg protected Zhou Wen's body, the 7 colored flames enveloped it. Thankfully, as Zhou Wen had expected, the Chaos Egg wasn't directly burned through. However, the essence energy crystals inside were produced crazily, almost instantly exploding. Zhou Wen got Empyrean Lord Behemoth to crazily absorb the essence energy crystals, but it was just a drop in the bucket. Thankfully, the grass fruit baby didn't disappoint him. It opened its tiny mouth and instantly sucked away most of the essence energy crystals. The red light in its body became brighter and brighter, like a crystal lamp. Although what Lu Yun said is a little far-fetched, it's not completely impossible. A phoenix can give birth to a peacock and a roc, so there's no reason why a phoenix can't do the same. The golden-winged roc's speed is unparalleled. The legendary peacock does indeed have the 5-colored divine light. This phoenix has the speed of a roc and the 5-colored divine light of a peacock. Furthermore, it's an upgraded version. It probably won't be easy to kill it. If Truth Listener is here, it shouldn't be difficult for me to find an opportunity with it. For the time being, he wasn't worried that the Chaos Egg would explode. Zhou Wen carefully observed the 7-colored phoenix, hoping to find its weakness. Sure, you analyzed the 7-colored phoenix's energy trajectory over and over again, but his analysis speed was very slow. He didn't know how long it would take to completely analyze it. After grass fruit baby crazily devoured for a period of time, the red light in its body gradually dimmed. It turned into a red heart that appeared in its chest. After the heart completely solidified, grass fruit baby's body gradually returned to its original appearance. It was no longer as transparent as before. When grass fruit baby completely recovered, it stopped devouring the essence energy crystals. Zhou Wen was immediately given a fright. The reason why the Chaos Egg could last until now was because grass fruit baby had absorbed the essence energy crystals. Otherwise, the Chaos Egg probably wouldn't have lasted more than 2 seconds in the 7-colored flames. Indeed, in the blink of an eye, the Chaos Egg reached its limits and was about to explode. Just Empyrean Lord Behemoth alone couldn't absorb much. Bam! The Chaos Egg still couldn't hold on and exploded. Zhou Wen's body was immediately exposed. Thankfully, he had used spatial teleportation to leave his previous spot and didn't get tainted by the 7-colored flames. You brat, don't just eat and not work. Haven't you already completed your evolution? Quickly beat up that crappy bird. Zhou Wen was still hoping that the evolved grass fruit baby could fight the phoenix so that he could take the opportunity to escape. However, the grass fruit baby sprawled on Zhou Wen's back without any intention of fighting. It was unknown if it had a good temper and didn't have any thoughts of revenge, or if it knew that its strength was inferior to the 7-colored phoenix, so it didn't dare fight it. Just as he was feeling depressed, he suddenly realized that something was amiss with the Chaos Egg. In the past, after the Chaos Egg exploded, its foundation would be damaged. It would take some time to condense again. This time, after the Chaos Egg exploded, Zhou Wen didn't feel its foundation being damaged. It seemed like he could continue using the Chaos Egg. Zhou Wen gave it a try and indeed, the Chaos Egg appeared outside him again. Chapter 1722. Why can the Chaos Egg suddenly be used continuously? Zhou Wen knew that the Chaos Egg had definitely undergone some changes, but he wasn't sure what had caused this change. Such a change was definitely related to the use of the Chaos Egg. Either the 7-colored phoenix or the grass fruit doll had affected the Chaos Egg. Zhou Wen was more inclined to the former. With this thought in mind, Zhou Wen tried again. After the Chaos Egg exploded again, he could immediately use it again. He didn't need to wait for a period of time like before. This is a little strange. The Chaos Egg clearly hasn't advanced to the Heaven Realm, but it's very different from before. What's going on? Zhou Wen carefully sensed the Chaos Egg's every shattering and rebirth. He increasingly felt that the changes in the Chaos Egg were related to the 7-colored phoenix. Or rather, it was related to the 7-colored flames. After being burned by the 7-colored flames, the Chaos Egg underwent such a change. Previously, the Chaos Egg had exploded countless times, but there weren't any special changes. Now there's actually such a change. Could it be that this 7-colored phoenix is really different? Then, if this continues, will the Chaos Egg have a chance of advancing to the Heaven Realm? Zhou thought. The Chaos Egg hadn't changed for a long time. Now that he finally saw the opportunity to advance to the Heaven Realm, Zhou naturally couldn't let it go. Only someone like Zhou, who had many life preservation means, would be running for their lives. How could he have such thoughts in such a battle? The Chaos Egg exploded again and again. Zhou could clearly sense that the Chaos Egg, which had been silent for a long time, finally had an obvious change. It really worked. Zhou was overjoyed. Junior brother, why aren't you escaping? What are you dawdling for? Lu Yun's voice sounded again. He sounded puzzled. Eldest senior brother, didn't you say that the sword was protected by a phoenix? Is that phoenix the same as this one? Zhou asked. It's about the same. They're both rainbow-colored, but they seem slightly different. It's definitely not the same one. Furthermore, that phoenix has always been rainbow-colored, unlike this phoenix that was a pheasant from the beginning, Lu Yun answered. Does that mean that as long as I can deal with this phoenix, it shouldn't be difficult to obtain the sword? Although Zhou said that, he had a different thought in mind. Zhou wasn't too concerned about the sword. He was wondering if he should find another phoenix to try his luck if the 7-colored flames of this phoenix couldn't advance the Chaos Egg to the Heaven Realm. What are you thinking? Unless you get Human Emperor's companion beast out, there might still be some hope. Otherwise, stop dreaming, Lu Yun probed. Not necessarily. Zhou thought to himself, truth listener's attack strength is indeed strong, but the Chaos Egg's defense isn't weak either. If it can advance to the Heaven Realm, it might be able to withstand the 7-colored phoenix's flames. Zhou didn't say anything else. When Lu Yun saw the Chaos Egg explode again and again, he imagined that Zhou was just being stubborn. He continued, hold on a little longer. I've already contacted the old fellow. When he comes, he might have a way to help you escape. Jing Daoxian is already in the Heaven Realm? Zhou was somewhat alarmed. Not really, but the old fellow has a lot of ways. There are some things we can't do, but he has a way to resolve them. I have to be impressed by this. The older the wiser, Lu Yun said. Zhou believed that a person like Jing Daoxian couldn't be measured purely by his level. Although Zhou wanted to know what level Jing Daoxian was at, it wasn't appropriate for him to ask Lu Yun. After all, he and Jing Daoxian might be enemies in the future. Even if Lu Yun was willing to tell him, Zhou really wouldn't be able to hear it. Why isn't the old fellow here yet? When Lu Yun saw the Chaos Egg crack again and again, he was somewhat worried that Zhou wouldn't be able to last long. However, he had already sent a message, but he didn't receive an answer. Jing Daoxian didn't appear either. It's really not bad. It's worth installing it for all readers. It supports both Android and Apple phones. However, Zhou endurance far exceeded Lu Yun's expectations. Every time Lu Yun felt that Zhou wouldn't be able to last much longer, Zhou would still persist after a long time. In the end, Lu Yun was almost numb. I wonder what essence energy art this junior brother of mine cultivates. Why do he have so many strange abilities? How many essence energy arts does he cultivate? Lu Yun guessed. Typically, people would only cultivate one essence energy art. It was very rare to see humans who could cultivate 2 essence energy arts at the same time. However, with Lu Yun's understanding of Zhou, he definitely didn't only have 2 essence energy arts. If I didn't know that it's impossible for this fellow to join the dimension, I would have thought that he had long betrayed us. It's really unbelievable that a pure human can reach this level. Lu Yun actually suspected that Zhou was like Wang Mingyuan, no longer human. Otherwise, it was almost impossible for others to advance to the mythical stage even if they cultivated two essence energy art. However, Zhou was already at the Calamity Realm. Furthermore, the essence energy arts he used weren't as simple as two. It was unknown how many times the Chaos Egg had shattered. Zhou finally felt that it seemed to have reached a critical point. Without much of a stir, it was as though it was a matter of course. When the Chaos Egg was summoned again, it had already advanced to the Heaven Realm. It was somewhat different from before. I've reached the Heaven Realm. Zhou looked at the Chaos Egg. He also wanted to know what kind of changes there would be in a Heaven Realm Chaos Egg. The greatest possibility was that the number of essence energy crystals would increase. However, when the 7 colored flames burned over, Zhou realized that the number of essence energy crystals didn't change. It was still in the hundreds of millions. Then, there was no way for him to continue stacking them. Soon, Zhou was pleasantly surprised to discover that a large number of essence energy crystals had appeared in the Chaos Egg. In the past, the Chaos Egg would have long exploded, but now there were so many essence energy crystals in the Chaos Egg, but it didn't feel crowded at all. The Chaos Egg's interior space has increased. No, it's not as simple as it getting bigger. The 7 colored flames constantly burned the Chaos Egg. The number of essence energy crystals in the Chaos Egg was uncountable, but despite the limited space, it couldn't be filled. The Chaos Egg stopped shattering. After a while, he suddenly heard Lu Yun's voice. Furthermore, his emotions seemed rather unstable. Holy sh*t, don't tell me that you planned on using the phoenix to cultivate from the beginning? Lu Yun shouted. He could tell that the Chaos Egg had advanced. No, I just practiced it at the last minute, Zhou said truthfully. Lu Yun fell silent. After a while, he heard Lu Yun squeeze out 2 words from between his teeth. Be *****. Chapter 1723. The Chaos Egg at the Heaven Realm still didn't have much offensive strength, but its defense was already unimaginably sick. Even a strange power like the 7 colored flames could hardly cause any substantial damage to the Chaos Egg. From the looks of it, the Chaos Egg is a pure defense-type essence energy art. It would be even better if it had some offensive strength, Zhou thought greedily. With the Heaven Realm Chaos Egg protecting him, the 7 colored flames could no longer injure Zhou. Instead, the essence energy crystals inside the Chaos Egg were uncountable. It benefited a gluttonous companion beast like Tyrant Behemoth. After all, essence energy crystals were useless. Zhou got companion beasts that could absorb essence energy crystals to do their best. Under Imperial Lord Behemoth's frenzied devouring, it had already advanced to the Hell Realm. As long as there was enough time, advancing to the Heaven Realm was only a matter of time. It's still easier to rear a companion beast like Imperial Lord Behemoth. As long as there's food, it can advance. If others knew of Zhou's thoughts, they would probably vomit blood in anger. If it were an ordinary person raising Imperial Lord Behemoth, it would be pretty good if they didn't starve to death. Advancing to the Calamity Realm was an extravagant hope. Explosive Fiend Man had also devoured quite a number of essence energy crystals and was about to advance to the Calamity Realm. This was one of the few companion beasts that could advance to the Calamity Realm with essence energy crystals. Brother, stop fooling around. Leave quickly. The immortal sword over there doesn't wait for anyone. If it's really taken by the immortals, it will be too late to cry, Lu Yun said gloomily. Although Zhou wanted to stay here and use the 7 colored flames to raise his companion beasts, hoping that he could raise Imperial Lord Behemoth to the Heaven Realm before leaving, he gave up on it after some thought. Since he already had the method and the dungeon had been downloaded successfully, there were plenty of opportunities in the future. There might not be a chance for the sword in the future. For example, something like the immortal culling sword might not exist in-game. It was useless even if he downloaded the dungeon. If that sword was really the same set as the immortal culling sword, it was better for it to land in his hands than in the hands of the immortals. If this were in the past, Zhou might have been hesitant and unwilling to take the risk. Now that the Chaos Egg had advanced to the Heaven Realm, he had fewer worries. Let's go. Zhou stopped fighting the seven-colored phoenix and charged towards the stone chamber. The seven-colored phoenix chased after Zhou indignantly and spewed fire. It wished it could immediately burn Zhou to ashes, but unfortunately, it could only watch helplessly as Zhou rushed into the stone chamber and burrowed into the hole. The golden-winged bird was even more anxious and angry, but unfortunately, it couldn't touch Zhou at all. It was unknown if the seven-colored phoenix and the golden-winged bird thought that the pit was a latrine pit and refused to enter, or if there was some other reason, but they did not chase down. Let's go back. Seeing that the seven-colored phoenix didn't chase after him, Zhou dispelled the chaos egg in the tunnel, planning on letting the grass fruit baby return by itself. Although this thing was magical, there were too many variables. It wasn't within Zhou's control, so bringing it back might be troublesome. Furthermore, typical calamity creatures couldn't leave dimensional zones easily. It wasn't easy for creatures to break out of dimensional zones. It wasn't difficult to break out of ordinary dimensional zones, but it wasn't that simple to break out of a dimensional zone like Kunlun. Chaogua sat on Zhou's shoulder as though he hadn't heard him. He remained motionless as he looked at Zhou with an innocent look. Go back to your place. Zhou pointed inside. However, Chaogua remained motionless as though he didn't understand what Zhou was saying. Forget it. When we reach the exit, it will naturally return if it can't leave. Zhou continued walking towards the exit. To his surprise, after Zhou left the exit, Chaogua followed him out of the Kunlun Mountain dimensional zone without any obstacles. He wasn't stopped by the dimensional zone. You're finally out. Lu Yun was already waiting outside. He heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Zhou come out. Where's your patriarch? Zhou looked around and didn't see Jing Daoxian. Don't mention it. There was no response after the news spread. I wonder where he went. Lu Yun shrugged and continued, let's not talk about this for now. We're much later than scheduled. I don't know if we can make it in time. Let's go. Zhou didn't say anything else as he turned and headed for the pool. Aren't you going to get rid of this thing first? Lu Yun pointed at Chaogua, who was sitting on Zhou's shoulder. Bringing such an unknown object to such a dangerous place was tantamount to carrying a ticking time bomb. Who knew when it would cause trouble? Zhou glanced at Chaogua and pondered for a moment before shaking his head. Forget it. Let's talk when we get there. Lu Yun didn't say anything else as the two of them headed for the pool's entrance. The pool's entrance was beneath the pool. It was like an underground river. After reaching the end, there was an even larger pool. One could even hear endless rumbling sounds. Before they surfaced, Zhou used his master domain to scan the nearby area and realized that this place was completely different from the place they had entered. This was a huge canyon, and they were under a waterfall. The waterfall was probably 10,000 feet tall. The water that poured down was like a roaring white dragon hanging on the mountain wall. It looked extremely spectacular. However, he didn't see the phoenix or immortal sword that Lu Yun had mentioned. Water flowed in the canyon, and there were many fungi growing on the cliffs on both sides. The large ones were almost the size of houses, and the small ones were about the size of millstones. They were stacked on the stone walls, and at a glance, one would think that they were layers of domed sheds. The fungi were colorful and beautiful. The entire canyon was like a fairy tale world. Be careful. The spores emitted by these mushrooms are everywhere. If you accidentally inhale them, they will parasitize your body and suck your flesh and blood dry. Lu Yun knew that Zhou's eyesight had likely reached the level of microscopic vision, allowing him to see the spores. However, he still warned him. Don't tell me there are dimensional creatures like Ganoderma dolls here? Zhou remembered reading on the internet that someone had obtained a Ganoderma doll's companion beast. They had extremely powerful recovery skills that allowed them to recover from ordinary injuries almost instantly. It was said that they also had the ability to revive the dead. As long as a person was still breathing, they could be healed no matter how serious their injuries were. However, that ability seemed to require the sacrifice of a Ganoderma companion beast. Even so, it was already very enviable. Zhou had long wanted to obtain one, but it was just too rare. He couldn't even buy it, and he didn't know which dimensional zone produced it. I didn't hear Old Master mention such a thing. He only told me that the spores here are extremely terrifying. I mustn't let them invade my body, Lu Yun said after some thought. Lu Yun's words reminded Zhou of one of his companion beasts. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.